I've said for a while now that it felt like Microsoft was slowly dissolving everything that made Xbox feel like, well, Xbox. And the more that I've had time to think about the sudden retirement of Phil Spencer and the resignation of Sarah Bond, the more it feels like something very foundational has taken place. And now we even have folks like Greg Miller from Kinda Funny Games claiming that Phil Spencer did not do this as a planned thing. He was quote-unquote past something that reiterates that this was not planned. So if this wasn't planned, then what exactly is going on? Now, many people have observed that this felt very sudden. It's not the typical way that this sort of thing takes place, and it didn't seem like something that they were planning, even though that's what we're being told. On an even stranger note, what's happening on Twitter with the new CEO and why her gamer tag that she shared only suddenly started playing in January of this year, I think points to some other issues. I think there is a lot to discuss here. I know many people have said for a very long time, oh, Xbox is dead, Xbox is dead. I said in like 2024 that it felt like Microsoft was killing the very idea of Xbox and raising something in its place, like Microsoft Gaming or something to that effect. I don't know if they're actually going to change the brand, but to me, that's kind of what I named this stream in the thumbnail is Xbox is dead, long live Microsoft. And I want to talk about what all of this means. There's a lot of moving parts here. Now, if you're watching this later, remember to hit that like button and remember to hit that subscribe button. That way you won't miss out on the content. And we do have a pretty big goal on the channel. We're around 500 people paying for their own memberships. We're trying to get that to 600. That is how I do this full time. So if you enjoy this content on a regular basis, hit join for $5 a month. You get a badge, you get emotes to use in the live chat, and you get access to my Discord. So let's just kind of move through this one piece at a time, because for me, the main thing is to talk about Phil Spencer. Was this planned or not? The official narrative is that Spencer stated that he told CEO Satya Nadella that his intent was to retire, and he told this to him in fall of 2025. Now, we have to ignore the fact that in the summer of 2025, Phil said he wasn't retiring anytime soon. What changed that just a short time later he says this? In a high-level corporate structure, executives are often given the grace to announce their retirement months in advance to avoid spooking the shareholders. So if Phil did indeed share this with Satya, it was not told to the shareholders because that would have been public information. That means this very well could have been something that was sudden, and the shareholders are just now finding out because the timeline feels almost immediate. Now, I initially said, since he was saying he was going to stay on as an advisor, that it was unlikely that he was quote-unquote pushed out. That really doesn't leave much of another possibility on the table, but there is another possibility. Microsoft changed direction, and it either didn't include Phil or he just didn't want to be involved in what was going on. Given the new CEO seems more oriented around being more like tech first, that gives me the impression that maybe Phil, at least this is what I've always felt, Phil did his best to put the gamers first, albeit imperfectly. Now, when this new direction was made known to him, he may have graciously agreed to just help Asha Sharma prepare, or she was tapped for the position and Phil was pushed out. Either way, the change is sudden, it's tectonic, and according to one source, this was not planned. Now, especially when you consider what this means for Xbox, it does seem very strange. This is the 25th anniversary for Xbox. To suddenly retire in February seems odd. I actually lean towards the theory that he was pushed out after I initially rejected the notion, especially when you consider Sarah Bond's resignation. And this, again, doesn't feel like something that was planned, especially if you consider everything that's been going on. It's hard to ignore how much they seem to be setting up Sarah Bond as the new face of the brand. She was getting more screen time in the showcases. She was doing the hard-hitting interviews about strategy changes and layoffs. She was in that promotional video we were just watching about how they wanted Windows to be the #1 gaming platform. So sadly for her, I think the most likely theory here is that she was passed over and resigned, or if Phil was indeed pushed out, she thought, I'm out too. The fact that she was posting on LinkedIn just 3 hours prior to this as if nothing had changed really seems like she was blindsided by this. It doesn't seem like she knew it was coming. Perhaps Phil was blindsided as well. If Phil knew this was coming, that there was a changing of the guard, changing of direction, and that Sarah was being passed over, he would have told her. I don't think she would have been posting on LinkedIn mere hours before this announcement if she knew that this was happening. Now, Phil conveniently told Satya that he was retiring in fall of last year, which just happens to be right after the rumors of his retirement were allegedly debunked. So in order to keep the timeline intact, I could see them saying, hey, just go back about as far as you can to claim that Phil was planning to do this as a kind gesture to him to give him this sort of peaceful leaving. You know, given his work and tenure with the brand, I could see this all being an exercise in PR as a grace to him. And if the sources claiming that this wasn't planned are correct, then it would make sense why Sarah Bond was acting as if it were business as usual on LinkedIn just moments before this announcement hit. She also gets zero mention by Satya in this address, and her formal address came in the form of a LinkedIn post after the news broke. One of the more interesting aspects of this is that Phil Spencer is actually the one that announces her departure. She doesn't seem to get to. She kind of comes in after the fact and then announces it or speaks to what is going on. As far as I can tell, she resigned in response to, again, either being passed over or because Phil was being pushed out. She thought, oh, Captain, my Captain, I'm out of here. Which to me, this is a big blow to the brand's image. To have both of the shining, smiling faces of Xbox leave at the same time, they already have an eroding brand's trust with the public that many fans have felt has been waning over the years, and it could now be holding on by a thread. Which, before we look to the strange goings-on with the new Xbox CEO on Twitter, I have to ask this question. How is Matt Booty getting a promotion? With consistent reports of underperforming games from Xbox Studios, why on earth is this man being promoted? If you're going to clean house, the average Xbox fan or gaming pundit would think that Matt Booty would be the first to go, not Phil Spencer or Sarah Bond. And I don't want to belabor this point because I have zero confidence on Matt Booty's ability to excel in his role because I just don't feel like he's done anything worthy of note his entire time at Xbox. He is credited with overseeing the mergers and the restructuring of the teams that they acquired, but those are the very teams that have put out the poorest performing games. It's become an ongoing joke that he knows where the bodies are buried, so I guess we'll just stick to that excuse for now. But who is Asha Sharma? At this point, you've probably heard that she comes from Instacart or that she was the VP at Meta. More importantly, she was recently in the core AI division at Microsoft, which they launched in January of 2025. Just last year. They were really focusing on developing agentic applications, which is AI that moves beyond simple automation. They wanted to be interacting with memory and adaptability and just to be more intelligent because AI doesn't seem all that intelligent right now. So it isn't surprising that she spoke specifically to not making AI slop within gaming itself, stressing that games are art and they're made by humans. But then her Twitter account went into full swing, interacting with the community in ways that felt very much like an AI and not a human, especially when you read one of her responses, which claimed it had been a while since she had played Chrono Trigger, and she inquired whether or not the person she was responding to had done every ending. Well, the tweet seems to demonstrate long-standing and vast knowledge of games, which leads to her gamertag fiasco. And listen, I'm going to speak to whether or not she needs to be a gamer. There's so much more going on here, all right? Because I don't really care if she plays games or not. I care if she's qualified to lead the gaming division. Does she understand what studios need to make great games? Since I believe Microsoft as a company is clueless about this, given their stupid contract policy. I don't have any confidence in her selection as the new CEO of Xbox either. But the gamertag situation to me is just another sign that Microsoft and Xbox will mislead the consumer to create and foster weird parasocial trust and bonds with the community. I would much rather know, does she understand the inner workings of development? Does she understand the pipelines required to bring something to market? Does she understand what video games are like now compared to what they were just 20 years ago? And this situation with them sort of trying to trick us into thinking she's some kind of a gamer, look no further than her gamer tag that got its very first achievement on January 16th of this year, 2026. But wait, there's more. Achievements for multiple games unlocked on the same date, which many took to mean there was non-organic grinding taking place with this account. Various distinct games were getting experience within just a span of one day. There are 100% completions of games like Firewatch, Gone Home, A Short Hike, Town Scraper, and Ball Pit, which that's pretty impressive given the way that Ball Pit goes as a game. She allegedly played 43 hours in 1 week. So, listen, it's entirely possible that she did this in January to prepare for her new appointment. Apparently, she was asking people what games she should play, and she was just booting up random games on her Xbox account like Borderlands and others. Maybe prior to this, she just had no time for games, and maybe she does have a history with gaming. I mean, she's acting as she has intimate knowledge of things like Chrono Trigger having multiple endings. That's kind of deep lore in the gaming world. That's not like a random thing to just sort of know off the top of your head about like a game like Mario Kart or something. Maybe she did. Maybe she's got a long-standing history with games and only recently got back into playing them because of this position. Or this was some sort of a scramble, since they knew she would be replacing Mr. Gamer himself, Phil Spencer, who regularly was logging hours in games and was always speaking about the games that he was playing. The weird thing about this is, you're Microsoft. Couldn't you just fabricate an entire account with achievements and dates to make it look organic? I mean, couldn't they have just cheated? She shared this gamer tag to dispel doubts that like, hey, I'm a gamer too, and I honestly don't know what to think. She either just started gaming in January to do research, or they made this account, had some people grinding games to get a gamer score that wasn't a 0, and then they shared it thinking that people would be convinced. In my opinion, this is par for the course with Microsoft. They are stupid when it comes to gaming. I think they equally think the consumer is stupid. They thought people would care about her being a gamer, and they prepared a pretty abysmal defense. And they prepared in the most Microsoft way ever, a very cold, calculated, and obviously inauthentic gamer tag with non-organic gameplay patterns. It's almost like the AI shoe fits on both feet. So where does this lead all of us? Asha Sharma's philosophy is that a product should evolve on its own. She's more of a service platform tech-oriented person and background. Phil Spencer was more gaming focused. Basically the idea of hey, we're going to build great games and we're going to bring them to as many people as we can. Asha Sharma's philosophy is more about a platform that learns what the consumer likes and would change to keep them engaged, more of a tech AI focus. This is a move away from gaming as cinema, which would be like Sony's strategy, or gaming as entertainment or a toy. That's Nintendo's strategy. I would argue that recently Xbox's strategy has been more gaming as a community, trying to sort of unify the idea of gaming to just across all boundaries. This feels more like gaming as a dynamic service, sort of like the meta strategy, the TikTok, the social aspect of we're going to build this sort of dynamic service that adapts to you algorithmically, and AI can assist with that. I don't think her comments about, quote, the return of Xbox, or saying the word console means anything. This felt like AI generated buzzwords and terms to garner support, trust, and excitement about the shrinking Xbox group of loyalists. And there is only one aspect of this that feels like the inevitable fallout from this will be far-reaching. According to Sneaker SO, a reliable leaker who broke a lot of the Xbox changes before they happen, bad things are on the horizon. In response to the leadership change, Sneaker SO said that this is now squarely putting the Xbox division into one of the biggest rounds of layoffs they'll ever see, all under the guise of, quote, restructuring under new executive leadership. Sneaker SO did say that more big, significant rounds of layoffs were coming, but then when we got into 2026, there were folks claiming there would be no layoffs, which seems incredible in light of everything we've heard about tech sector and overhiring in 2020 and 2021, that there was still likely layoffs coming. I happen to think that's a pretty decent theory given what they just did. This feels like Microsoft has no longer kicked the door in, they're running everybody out. Now, when it comes to hardware, Sneaker SO also feels that this is probably not in a great spot. He said, quote, Spencer and Bond out basically puts a pin in Xbox hardware. He also had thoughts on how this felt like a bit of a dagger. He said the following: The division being handed to an AI exec, there is literally no worse scenario that could have happened. Sarah resigning is the biggest tell on what's going on behind the scenes. She was basically Spencer's disciple. Many people are sort of looking at this as the fall of Xbox. You have your last two sort of people that retain some identity of a gamer-centric ideology, of a gamer-centric focus. Whether you agreed with Play Anywhere or not, or thought Game Pass was good or not, it was seemingly focused squarely at gamers. And many people feel that all that's about to change even more than it already has. Now, Sneaker SO didn't say anything about Game Pass that I could find in light of recent changes, but there was a Bloomberg report shortly ago that talked about how Microsoft lost hundreds of millions of dollars putting Call of Duty on Game Pass. Many were speculating that everything is now on the table, including Game Pass. Prior to this leadership change, there were rumors that even still, I think the low-cost PC version of Game Pass, which is still the best version of it, that option would be facing a potential merger with other tiers, and that Day and Date was once again under threat of seeing revision or being removed entirely. Now, those reports indicated that those changes to Game Pass wouldn't happen until next year, which is interesting. You would hear about these impending changes to Game Pass, but then they're super far away. To me, it could be related to this leadership change. This is obviously before everybody knew that this leadership change was coming. So as far as I see it, in light of everything that has happened and all that we're hearing, Xbox is actually dead. Not dead like going away, like no more games dead, like the idea, the brand, the identity of Xbox is dead. And if Xbox is dead, long live Microsoft Gaming. Which is funny because in May of 2024, I said that Microsoft had killed Xbox and then in its place, Microsoft Gaming would rise. Sadly, with the current seismic changes, I feel that that's actually happened. But those are just my thoughts. And now it's time to hear your thoughts. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. There's a lot to cover there. I did my absolute best. I felt like there was just this broad spectrum of things to commentate on, and it all very much feels like we're about to enter an era where it's not just like Xbox is a publisher or, oh, they're putting games everywhere, or is it Game Pass or whatever. It feels like everything fundamentally is about to change with the company because Satya, I believe, made this call, and this feels very much like more than a changing of the guards. It feels like the closing of a book. I mean, they kept talking about new chapter. Boatsville and Sarah Bond were using that phrasing, and I don't know. Wasn't it already dead? I mean, the Xbox is dead mantra, many people use it to refer to different things. Like, Xbox is dead, and they're talking about the console. Xbox is dead, they're talking about, like, oh, they're not competing, they're not doing a good job. This, to me, seems like the very idea of the brand and what people were loyal to is now gone. I mean, with Phil and Sarah gone at the same time, I don't know. You have to think about what they've done. They've done this parasocial thing for years. Inviting people out, doing community events, having these sort of close relationships with creators and the public. And when you completely rip those people out of the frame, that feels like a pretty significant shift. Like, you can't foster that for years and then act like Phil and Sarah departing on the same day isn't a big deal. Everything they've built, all that loyalty, all that, I mean, the way that people really took up for the ABK deal and just defended Xbox to the death, it was just like, man, oh man, how do they foster this? The way that people looked the other way when Phil Spencer was like, oh, it's just 4 games. I mean, the way that they handled the whole, CFO commentary where Phil was like, oh, we have no plans to put Game Pass on Nintendo and PlayStation. Like, they had a very, very loyal group of people, and they fostered that. I mean, they really did. And I'm not even saying anything against the people that did that. There's nothing wrong with having a brand that you like, but you can't foster that edifice and then just be like, yep, Phil and Sarah are gone, and not feel like, wow, what's Xbox gonna be then? Like, where are you guys headed? What's the purpose of all of this? It felt like there was gonna be some semblance of the brand left, whether it was through the new, console PC hybrid or, big, huge showcases with big game announcements. And we just got done doing a developer direct, and I thought the developer direct was fine other than my concerns about Fable. And to me, that was going to kind of continue their era that they had, where like they wanted to be out there, smiling and winning the public's trust and winning the public's loyalty to some degree. I don't know how you do that when you take the faces of the brand away in one fell swoop like that. Unless, of course, you're not concerned about those things. I have some people to thank. Hang on. You guys did this during the show open. Let me get the goal open. It's a new week. And we got Banshee doing a 34-month renewal, says first of the week. Thank you so much. Han shot first, and so did you. J-Rock's going to come in with 32 months, says, what's it say here? Name the game. I'm Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last, my favorite game of all time. I mean, it sounds like you're quoting the Bible. Jazster with 44 months and a VIP says, I have a thing. Raven's got 48 months and says, ding, ding. A $5 super chat from the Gaming Ledger says, Asha Sharma having Instacart and AI experience. That makes a strategy fairly obvious that Satya wants to double down on Game Pass Cloud and AI. And thank you, Lone Wolf over there, double dipping and using that subscription on Purple, 11 months. Thank you. Good morning, Grumpy Old Man Gaming. And everybody, guys, make sure if you're watching on YouTube, you have hit that like button. It does help me out. Already 146 likes. We're only 20 minutes in to the show. Congrats to all the people who championed the ABK deal. What's interesting is if you ask, whenever I research these things, I'll go to Google, I'll see what people are saying. You'll go to Twitter, and then I'll even ask like the AI, like what's going on. And multiple times that theme came up, that like ABK completely killed them, that like that was kind of the beginning of the end, because it fundamentally changed what they were going to need to do. It was like, no, yeah, we can't do this thing that we've been doing all of this time, even with making games like Starfield exclusive from, ZeniMax. The OA with a $20 super chat. The more I think about it, the more I feel like this is just a funeral episode of Ted Lasso. The similarity between Xbox and the father, the way that he treated Rebecca's mom, and Never Gonna Give You Up song, so sad. No frame of reference for that, but thank you. And Ant Got No Games with a 54-month renewal, and then a 44-month renewal from James. Thank you so much. Stay safe in the East Coast. It's bad out there. And then Michael Dorsey coming in with a renewal and moving that line. If you guys missed it, Madam and I did our weekly thing that you guys unlocked. She reacted to the gaming news. She reacted to the situation. We also played Reanimal, and it was hilarious. So we'll do that again this week, and we will give you the opportunity of doing a double header. If you hit stretch, we'll play Mugenics as well. Madam and I playing games together with you guys is always a good time. And Xander Games over there with 10 months on Purple. Thank you so much for using your Prime on my channel. ABK made the execs decide to take a look, and that really was the end, says Ashen. I've got to be honest, the only thing I'm worried about is what will happen to Blizzard, says MW Davis. I don't care about Activision, Bethesda, or any other studios. It'll be sad if Blizzard imploded. They have so many studios, I'm kind of surprised that would be anybody's position. You don't care about what happens to, like, the Coalition? You don't care about what happens to, like, Playground Games? Like, you don't care what happens to Turn 10? I mean, I don't know, man. They've got a lot of property and a lot of studios. It would be a tragedy if the talent exodus in the market right now, which is obviously worrying, if that was then improved, increased, and just compounded by them shuttering a bunch of studios. Petrov comes in with 13 months. Good show, as always, Lono. Thank you for 13 months, Mr. Petrov. We're already at 10 members on the week. Thank you, boys, so much. Yo, what's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. Just not my type of games. There are plenty of games that I'm not really big on. Like, there's like cozy sim games and racing games and fighting games. I would love for those games to do well. Like, I want Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls to be a success, because that means people that like that kind of game will get to play it for a long, long time. Like, I've never been one to be like, well, if I'm not a fan, then I don't care what happens. They own so much property. Should have been a brand protege that the company had under their wing to take over from Spencer. Me personally, Spencer lost control once Satya took charge. I can't see it any other way. The more I looked at this, and after, Greg Miller from Kinda Funny Games said what he said, I was like, I was disagreeing with people initially. I was like, I don't think they pushed Phil out. Why would you stay on as an advisor until the summer if you've got pushed out? Sarah Bond is allegedly staying on as an advisor as well. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, yeah, I think they shoved homie out. I think they were like, yeah, this is kind of over, bro. We're going in a completely different direction. And, you know, it's sad because I feel like I was critical of Phil Spencer. I was critical of the way he handled a couple situations and some of his decisions. But I felt like he really made a go at this. I feel like he fought for the gamer. He fought for the brand. I would not be surprised if he spent the last, 12 years to a decade or so just fighting with Satya. It just feels like there was a constant tug of war going on where Phil wanted to foster an environment where they could deliver great games. Like, if you listen to the way that he talks sometimes, dude with 32 months, keep up the great work. Thanks for using your Prime over there on Purple. He talks about you need creativity, you need creatives. He's talking about how he wants to deliver one big game at quality every quarter. Like, I think he saw that importance of you've got to deliver great games. You need to have talent. You need to have creativity. But I think he was constantly just absolutely bootstrapped by the way that they treat their developers. And that comes back to Microsoft. I've tried to tell people for a long time. I said, I really think the issue is that Microsoft doesn't understand creative work. I think they understand how to build tools. They understand how to build something that is utilitarian. It doesn't feel to me like they understand creative work because of the way that they treat the employees and the studios with the contract policy and the rest. It's like, you guys don't get this. And I think that he was constantly fighting a losing battle. I remember when they said they were going to put Call of Duty on Game Pass, I said, I bet you Phil fought for that, right? I wouldn't be surprised if when they did that, there was an internal battle that said, we don't think we should put Call of Duty on Game Pass. We don't think that that's a good idea. And I think Phil Spencer was probably like, listen, you're going to take away one of the very identities of the brand at that point. We no longer do exclusives. So what's left? I mean, the only thing left at that point to really push during your showcases to retain a brand identity was Game Pass day and date. And if your big first Call of Duty comes out and doesn't hit that, I think he knew you can't do that. Well, unfortunately for Phil, it really, really cost them. And it might have led them to say, we're not doing this anymore. We're going in a completely different direction. Babbling Bike with 42 months and a member VIP, RIP Xbox, all hail Microsoft Gaming. Thank you so much, Babbling Bike. Did you see this change? Asha's already promoting those in AI. Okay, so what's this? Let's take a look at this. Craig Sincata begins a new position as Chief of Staff, OCEO, the Office of the CEO, a veteran communications executive at Microsoft with a career spanning nearly 2 decades. His previous position was General Manager, Cloud and AI Communications. He previously worked as Xbox's Director of Public Relations from 2010 to 13. That was a rough time for that position. Jiminy. He also worked for the Porch Group from 2013 to 2016 alongside Asha Sharma. I mean, reading this in the best light, she's bringing somebody on the team that she has familiarity with and a working relationship with. Worst, it seems like she's kind of building her team of AI people. I think that's the primary concern that a lot of people have, is that if you're going to choose to go this direction, then it's all about the AI. That title's going to ruffle some feathers. Listen, I feel like people are going to agree with me. I feel like there are Xbox guys that are going to agree and be like, yeah, Xbox is dead. Long live Microsoft. This is a Microsoft initiative. If I've ever felt anything was a Microsoft initiative, it's this. And a 5 bomb comes in from Ginger, the first member bomb of the week. And Raphael comes in with 21 months and a VIP, and he bumps the line to 18. Thank you so much, Raphael. Guys, I will not be on Ginger's show this Friday because we'll be playing Resident Evil. I didn't want to put us in a bind to do like live show gameplay Ginger. Like, I didn't want to put myself in that kind of a bind. If we were having a good time with Resident Evil, I didn't want to have to rush. It's not the kind of game to just stop playing all of a sudden. Jay with 33 months in the VIP. I have to say that I didn't see this coming. It's a pretty crazy weekend. And then Destruction, that's Mr. Lazaro himself, 33 months, 3 months to 3 years. Love this community. And then Darren comes in with 16 months. Boom, boom, boom. We're at 21 already. We are at 21 already, guys. Thank you so much. Ginger says, I agree with what you're saying. This is a major pivot, and I think it's AI-driven. You guys have got to zoom out on this. Obviously, Xbox is dead. Long live Microsoft. I'm not being that inflammatory. I truly believe that that's what's happening right now. Zoom out and look at, why would you make a decision like this? Why would you be like, yep, we're walking Phil out, we're walking Sarah out, we're bringing in this person who's got no background in overseeing gaming, the gaming division, game studios, seemingly is trying to posture like they have gaming experience, and even that seems really inauthentic. We're going to bring this person in whose most recent, resume is all about platform expansion and AI. That seems very much like a Microsoft initiative. Like I've said for a long time, like, all of this feels like Microsoft. Phil Spencer gets ZeniMax, and he's out here talking about putting great exclusives where Game Pass lives. They get ABK, and it was like everything changed from that point on. It all felt like Microsoft. Remember when they did the podcast and they did the whole Just 4 Games thing? Remember when I said, I was like, it doesn't feel like Phil. It doesn't feel like Sarah Bond. It feels like somebody else is talking. It felt awkward. It felt a little bumbled. It felt a little nervous. And I really do feel like that was the beginning of the end for both of them. It was like, we're walking out here and saying stuff that we never thought we'd be saying. Remember, I told you guys at the time, I said, this feels like Microsoft. It doesn't feel like Xbox talking anymore. Creature says the most game-centric person left is Matt Booty, and no one to this day knows what the F Matt Booty does. I mean, what does he do? I literally asked Google. I was like, what is Matt Booty, given credit for his time at Xbox? And it was like, he oversaw the restructure of these studios post-merger. And I'm like, yeah, but all those studios have shipped really poor products. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the guy's resume? Why is he still there? Why did he get a promotion? I don't know. It's like, I honestly feel like it's just corporate structure. It's just corporate structure. It's like, as long as you're agreeable and amicable and do what they ask you to do, they'll keep you on the payroll. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like Phil and Sarah were very much, I think Phil especially was probably like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to oversee this. I don't want to be attached to this. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to go in a different direction. And I think Sarah Bond was like, I'm out too then. I don't want anything to do with this. I do feel like she was either passed over or it was a package deal. Once they did this with Phil and essentially pushed him out unceremoniously, she was like, I'm out. You're not going to do my man Phil like that. RPG with 30 months says the next chapter. Let's add that to the total. Thank you so much. I remember that podcast, and when they talked and they looked like that, like they were sock puppets, it was like they didn't believe what they were saying. I remember telling people at the time, and listen, that era of time, I got a lot of grief and a lot of negative attention, but I tried to tell people, I was like, you have to listen to what they're not saying. It was all very carefully worded. It was very carefully structured. And it was the most non-Phil Spencer that he had ever seemed to me. He really felt off his game. Sarah Bond felt very off her game. She was kind of rambling at one point. I was like, I don't even know what she's saying. Johnny Always with the Prime over there on Purple gets 56 months. Thank you so much. Morning Ganks over there on Purple. Guys, check your Primes, check your resubs, and check that like button. We're close to 200 likes already. A strong start to Monday. Listen, I knew this would be a spicy one. I knew this would be a hot one. And I feel like I am being fair. I watched so many people's videos on this. Anybody that was talking about it that I respect, whether it's like Spawn Wave, whether it was Maddie Plays, there was a handful of YouTubers. I pulled up their videos. I was like, all right, what are they saying? Where are they landing on this? And everybody kind of felt the same thing, like, this is just a huge change. This is so bizarre. Nobody seemed to know which way was up. Everybody seemed to be kind of worried and kind of bothered by it. It was like, I don't know about this. Everybody seems very much, to be nervous about the AI focus and what that means. Like, she immediately comes out and starts talking about how they're not going to put AI slop out. Kitty Cat says, do you think Phil will ever speak out about it? No, I think Phil has too much class for that. Like, I don't think he's going to kiss and tell and go do some tell-all. I just don't think he's interested in that. I really, really don't. I think he's probably like, yeah, I'm good, man. I don't need to do a memoir about this era of time. You know, who else did I watch talk about this? So I watched Spawnwave. I saw a smaller creator I hadn't seen before, but his video was doing very, very well. He has like 10,000 subs, but the video wasn't like twice his sub count. That's always very good when your video can surpass your sub count. His name was Scott Tailford, and he said the real reason Phil Spencer left Xbox. I listened to Penguins talk about it. Like Charlie just was like, you know, obviously being Charlie about it. He's like, this sucks. This is the end. I watched Doc Dark. I watched Maddie Plays. Who else did I watch talk about this? I was listening to a little bit of the Iron Lords about it. I feel like there was a couple other things. I feel like the other stuff I was doing as I was reading Twitter, I was kind of getting a feel for where people were landing on it. And it does. It seems like people are not thrilled and nervous that like this seems like a seismic change that is not gamer focused or gaming focused. It feels very much focused on what Microsoft wants. Imagine Sony choosing to hire Phil. Here's the thing. I would imagine Phil's done. He could do some consulting work and get some pretty hefty checks, but I think he's probably done. Yo, Winged Wheel, let me bump the line by one. We're sitting at 24, boys. Every 25, I gift one back. Let's see if anybody's going to steal this one. What did Doc say? Doc basically was like, I'm not doing anything until I see proof that this is good. He's like, I'm going to chill on Steam. He very much was like, he did a video where he kind of thanked Phil, but was also critical of some things that, you know, that they had done, like the Just 4 Games thing, and the Series X kind of feels like it didn't get the, you know, the treatment that it deserved. JJ Mike with 33 months over there on Purple steals it. There it is, the first 25 of the week. You know, Doc was very much like, why would I buy that? Why would I believe them? And another gift that comes in from Cardoc ran over there on Purple. Ward Huff gets 42 months on YouTube. Thank you so much, Ward Huff. But listen, I think Phil is just done, right? You got to be kidding. That last check needed a forklift to get to the bank. Yeah, I don't think Phil needs the money. Again, I think sometimes guys like him like to do the consulting work because they can get paid, you know, they can get paid a pretty good amount of money to do that. And I think they like it. I think they like talking gaming. I don't think he's going to want to do the whole travel the world, go to Gamescom, go to Tokyo Game Show and all of that. I just don't think he's going to want to do that anymore. I think he's at an age where it's like, yeah, I'm good, man. You know, I also think he could do an amazing amount of work in the Asian market. Like, I think he could go over and do very good work in Japan or China. That's when I actually think that's a loss for the brand. Phil Spencer was very much going over and shaking hands with Japanese companies and trying to foster those relationships. And I think that was a long tail plan that Phil had. His vision was that Asia is central to us being successful in gaming. And he was going over there and trying to foster those relationships. And when you lose Phil, I mean, you got to kind of start over. And I don't know. I think that's a difficult thing to do. I mean, you would hope that they could pick up the ball. But if they completely shift and start focusing on AI and having like a living service platform, I just don't know. If you have a good amount of money, you enjoy your life and family and fun, yeah, I would imagine that's what he's probably looking forward to. I think some of these guys just disappear. They don't poke their head up for nothing. I mean, I think Sean Layden has continued to work in the industry after he was no longer at PlayStation, but I don't think we've heard nothing of Jim Ryan. I think he just kind of, he just took the money and was like, I'm out, I think he was even saying that traveling was getting to him. He was getting too old for it, I can't imagine doing all that traveling, especially if you have a family. Don't worry, guys. They're going to make Halo ODST 2 extraction shooter. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing I think will be is, as this plays out, do we get more information? Because when you're this is something to consider here. When you're Phil, I mean, there's a lot of people at that company that probably aren't too happy about this. And it wouldn't surprise me if they start, they can start dropping the T and being like, yeah, we're not happy that this happened, so we're going to start to talk to the press. You know what I mean? You could seriously see a lot of people over there at Xbox and Microsoft, or at Xbox specifically, who liked Phil and who liked Sarah, and they could go straight to Jason Schreier and be like, I'll tell you what happened, you know? Christopher Easley says, I usually disagree with Lono, but he's right here. I hope for the best for our digital libraries. TJ Boom Boom says, watch the AI produce better games. I severely doubt that's going to happen within the next 2 generations. I don't think you will see AI created games that can rival real games. I think you'll see AI assist with certain things. I think one of the first things you're going to see implemented with AI that will yield really good results, and it won't be like, oh, this is garbage, will be larger data sets for NPCs and sort of like dynamic response. I think that'll be one of the first things you see, is in like some kind of an RPG setting where there's dialogue and there's back and forth. I think you'll see like a larger data set library that they can pull from when you go and interact with an NPC in like a town. Instead of there being, 20 default responses and maybe 4 different quest lines that can emerge, I think that'll be one of the first things you see. I do not think you're going to see games made completely by AI anytime in the future. I just think it doesn't, it takes, number one, it's so expensive. I think the cost alone is ridiculous. You have to consider multiplying the cost currently to do it all the way up to a game that's large enough to house, a 15 to 20 hour playthrough. I just think people are really oversimplifying this. Like, you see a couple tweets and a couple of movies and little 60-second games and stuff, that already exists. That's what I mean. I think that's going to be one of your first most tangible, evidences, is they're going to institute it into games like NPCs and stuff. I think the next iteration would probably be quest design, world design, where they're like, hey, we need you to go get this, sword from this guy in the forest. Well, that quest and that guy and that forest didn't exist until the quest was created. I could see that level of like generative AI and machine learning systems doing that, combining the powers of procedural generation, things of that nature. But I literally don't think you're going to see like AI making games. You need to understand something. I don't think the new CEO of Xbox is worried about leveraging AI to make games. I think she's going to be concerned about leveraging AI to make money. Like having a platform that learns your behavior and makes recommendations of like microtransactions and things of that nature. I don't think that's just my guess based on her background and based on where she's coming from. I think this is going to be far more focused on the tech / like service side, platform side. I think that's going to be her goal, is how can we transform gaming into an AI integrated platform / service that generates us more money. I don't think she's going to we need to start just, hitting the button and make games with AI. I don't think that's the goal. I think you'll see them lean into the platform Minecraft more with AI and user-driven experiences. Yeah, I think they're going to try and do something along those lines. Like, she's the VP of Meta, she's over there at Instacart, and then she's at AI Core over here at Microsoft. I think that background is gonna lead to, I mean, even when I asked Gemini, I was like, what are the differences between these two? Gemini was like, Phil Spencer is more gamer focused, she's more tech service focused. So even it sensed like there's going to be a significant difference in the way that they lead these departments and the way that they lead Xbox. That just assumes that she herself isn't an AI. I don't know what to say about the stuff on Twitter. I really don't. Like, listen, I'm not going to come out here and call anybody a liar, but am I supposed to believe that, given her background and given her age, she just off the top of her head has like a deep understanding of Chrono Trigger? Like, that's like a gamer right there, to be like, oh yeah, I love Chrono Trigger. Did you do all the endings? That literally sounds like an AI went out, grabbed information about Chrono Trigger, and like wrote a tweet. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, boys, what are we doing here? Like, I'm a gamer, grew up with a Nintendo in the house from the time that I was like 10 years old, and I didn't know that about Chrono Trigger. I was like, that's a pretty deep level of knowledge there. You know what I'm saying? Like come on, y'all. What are we doing here? I was like, oh, not only do you have this knowledge of Chrono Trigger just like in your head, it's just hanging out there apparently. She just knows it. She just knows it. How many of you knew that Chrono Trigger had multiple endings? How many of you knew that? You may have played it. Yeah, you know, maybe you've heard, maybe you've heard of Chrono Trigger before. I didn't know it had other endings. I didn't play Chrono Trigger from all the way back then. I was like, oh wow, Chrono Trigger. I know the name Chrono Trigger. I think I remember my older brother playing Chrono Trigger, but I was like, oh wow. And then I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute. So she just knows that? Just off the top of her head? Chrono Trigger came out in 1995. Like, a game from 1995? You're just like, yeah, man, how about those multiple endings? You know what I mean? 90% of core gamers know it's a must-play. I doubt it. If you went right now to Twitter and you could hook people up to a lie detector, and you're like, hey, gamers of today, how many of you knew that Chrono Trigger had multiple endings? A bunch of people, if they were telling the truth, would be like me and be like, I didn't know that. I've heard of Chrono Trigger. I've seen people play it, but I didn't know that. The game came out in 1995. You know how many gamers weren't even alive then that are playing games right now, and they're active on Twitter? Was she alive then? She looks really young. Was she alive yet? I don't know. Come on. What are we doing here? And she has this deep knowledge, you know, of Chrono Trigger, and her gamer tag on Xbox just out of nowhere started playing games in January of this year. Just, you know, out of nowhere, just starts grinding games 40-something hours in a week. You know what I'm saying? You're sounding more like a gaming tourist than the CEO. Like, there are so many games from back then. We just dropped frames. What the frick? There are so many games from back then that I didn't play, homie. Like, Christmas morning, we opened up our Nintendo. We played Mario. We played Operation Wolf. We played The Legend of Zelda. You know, Super Mario Brothers 3, the original Metroid. Okay, there are so many games back then that I didn't play. A lot of the times we didn't play games because we were not exactly a wealthy family. We were not a wealthy family, so like we did not have tons of games. I remember me and my brothers, we pooled our money together. We had Christmas money, and my brother and I both have birthdays close to Christmas. So we had birthday money and Christmas money. We pooled our money together, and we got the joystick for the original Nintendo. I forget what it was called. It had like the big red buttons, and it had the joystick. We got it. And I remember saying, I think this is a bad idea. I don't think we should spend our money on this. We ended up taking it back, and we exchanged it for Mario Kart, okay? That's my gaming background, brother. So, like, if I've not played a game, you can throw around words like tourist, which is just like a weird, like, immature version of gatekeeping that weirdos do on Twitter. Like, you're a tourist because you didn't play Chrono Trigger. Like, we played what we could afford. We rented games every weekend from Tip Top Video. I would walk to the dadgum rental store and rent games like Clay Fighter 63 and a third and others because we just didn't have the money. So a lot of the times, like, I completely missed out on entire, you know, franchises because we didn't have tons of games. Now, once I got into, my older years and could afford my own stuff, I got into PC gaming and all of that. So to me, it's like this feels 100% like just a total fake out. That like she did like an insane amount of grinding to get like a 10,000 gamer score in January alone, from 0 to 10,000. And she's out here talking about Chrono Trigger like she just automatically knows things about Chrono Trigger. It felt 100% like an AI. When you Google her, the AI summary says that she's 36, for those asking. There you You're defending not being a tourist like a tourist. You're not making an argument. You're using a childish pejorative because you don't have an argument. Being a gamer is all about, do you play the games? Do you enjoy the games that you play? It's not about playing every game that's ever existed. Does that make sense? Like, I could probably list games that you didn't play. That doesn't mean I get to like call you some name or something. That's just a sign of insecurity. Like, you sound like a child. That's not the way that like adult men interact with each other. Like, if you enjoy gaming and maybe you completely skip the Sega Genesis and some other person's like, oh, you never played Sega, you never played Sonic, you're a tourist. Well, that would be really weird. Like, we were a Nintendo family, so we actually never had a Sega Genesis. Our cousin did. So we went over and we would play over there, and we played, Sonic over there. We enjoyed Nintendo more. And then when I got to, out of the age of like, well, Mario Kart's fun and everything, I built a PC and played games like Quake 2 and Quake 3. Like, but I've never been like, if you haven't done that, you're not a gamer, you're a tourist. That's just such a stupid way to talk about things. Like, I mean, we people from my group, we were playing games on PC at a time where you got like made fun of for doing that. Like, we got made fun of for doing LAN parties, and then all these guys got Xboxes and we're doing like Halo parties, and we're like, yeah, you see, it's fun, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where trying to like denigrate another person's like experience and history with gaming, it just smacks of insecurity and childishness. It's like, it doesn't mean anything. It's like, if you've been playing games since 2 years ago or 20 years ago, that doesn't matter to me. In this situation, what I'm drawing attention to is the fact that they're trying to play some kind of a game. Like, I don't need her to have some vast repertoire of gaming knowledge to be in charge of Xbox, but don't play these games where it looks like you're using an AI to interact with people on Twitter and grab knowledge about a game from like the 90s that you're alleging that you've got like intimate knowledge of, and then you also just started grinding your gamer tag like in January and all this. It's like, why play these games? I don't care if she's done this. I don't care if she's like been playing since the Nintendo, or if she just started playing video games 2 years ago. That doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is this illusion that they try to put out there of who she is and what she's done. It's like, it would be better to come out and be like, yeah, I actually don't have a lot of vast knowledge of games and a long history with gaming, and that's why I think I'm the perfect person for the job, because I'm going to go and listen to the developers. I'm going to go and listen to the gamers, and that's going to put me in the best position to do this job. That would have been a far better way to come out than do this weird, like, inauthentic AI-esque interaction on Twitter and then tout some gamer tag that literally looks like it first turned on an Xbox last month and played like an addict for the entirety of the month. Like, it's like, what in the world are we doing here? Like, you're just playing this game where you think the public is stupid, and you can like trick the public into, oh yeah, she's a gamer, y'all. Like, she's talking like a gamer. She understands gamers. It's like, well, no. Why do we even have to play this game? Are we going to go for another round of like this parasocial like nonsense where, you know what I mean? It's like, just give us something real here. I would have had way more respect if she walked out and was like, yeah, I don't have a long history with gaming. I think that's what we need right now. We need somebody who has no history in this at all, and I'm going to go to the devs and I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to go to the gamers and I'm going to listen to them, and that's going to equip me to do this job to my best abilities. I would have had way more respect for that than whatever the heck this thing is that they're doing where you're trying to prop her up as some gamer. And it's like, why do that? That's silly. It looks ridiculous. And you got Lulu Chang coming out defending her. Oh, yeah. That gives me so much confidence in the brand, is Lulu Chang. Wow. Another champion of gamers right there. My score with both accounts I've got is 16,000. It's almost caught up to me after 25 years. That's right. That's right. I'm just good at running departments at Microsoft. The parasocial relationship with Xbox needs to be studied. What do you guys think of interest? If you want to actually make Xbox good again, and you think you can do it good, but don't pull this BS. Hey, she learned from Phil on how to fake it till you make it. I got my first console in 1988, and I never looked at gaming magazine or guides. I had no idea about Chrono Trigger alternate endings. That's what I'm saying. Like, this idea that, like, the minute you say you're not aware of something in gaming, folks want to, like, pull your gamer cred card. Homie, I'm 44 with a family. I don't give a frick about that kind of stuff. That's a bunch of childish nonsense. Like, we're all in here talking about a hobby that we enjoy. Your wealth of knowledge on the topic. If I find games you don't know about, I'm not going to act like you're not a gamer. That's just weird. Given the fact that she may have found out that she got a job in January, she started playing video games in an attempt to be knowledgeable. Yeah, but that's not what she's doing. She's interacting with people on Twitter as if she's got this long history with gaming. It's like saying you don't know Sheik is Zelda and that Aerith dies. What? I'm like, do you know how to strafe jump in Rocket Arena and Quake 3? Do you know how to strafe jump? No? Then shut the frick up. You're not a gamer. Do you know what strafe jumping is in Rocket Arena and Quake 3? If you don't, then you're not a gamer. $2 super chat from Andy Ackerman. Soulful AI slop incoming. Thank you so much, Andy Ackerman, for the $2 super chat. Oh, you're a gamer? Name every game. Name every game right now. That's right, Patrick. Jiminy. Like, and that's the thing. I am not about to pull a CEO's gamer cred card, but I'm going to do it if you throw it out there as if you're trying to posture. Like, if I came to you and was like, listen, y'all, I know a whole lot about Final Fantasy, you'd have every right to call me on my BS, because I don't know almost anything about Final Fantasy. I don't. It wasn't a game that I played. My brother played like the original. I think we both played FF7 on the PC or something. I remember a place with a bunch of stairs, and I got stuck in that level. I got really far, and I was in a place with a bunch of stairs. It was weird. But, like, if you come out and you want to act like you're, you know, oh, yeah, I've got all this gaming knowledge, and I've been playing all these games, and it's like, if you're doing that and you're faking us out, then I would expect people to call you on that. Jim Ryan was not a gamer, but he didn't pretend to be. Yeah, I mean, when you're holding a controller like this, or whatever that picture of him holding that controller, it's like, is that the first time you've ever held a controller? Oh, man. If you don't remember all the cheats in GTA San Andreas, you're not applicable. That's right. $2 from God Emperor says, I would say she did integrate with the community. I mean, listen. I don't actually think what she did on Twitter is all that impressive. It 100% felt like an AI. It really did. It didn't feel genuine at all. The responses were, I don't know. I also feel like, and maybe I'm imagining things. Maybe I should look deeper into this, before I say anything. I felt like as soon as people pointed out that it felt like it was an AI, she just stopped. Yeah, she hasn't done anything since. All right. So the 21st, she's right here, right? Great list. I did my top 3 in another reply. Halo, Valheim, 007. It's been a long time since I played Chrono Trigger. Have you done every ending? Thanks for all the detail. I appreciate it a ton. Like, so this tweet gets her accused of being an AI, and she stops as soon as that happens. She stopped tweeting. I mean, come on. It feels a little weird, y'all. Like, they were like, "Oh, the jig is up. We said a little bit too much." Oh my golly. Yeah, she would have been 7 years old roughly when Chrono Trigger came out. So maybe she did play Chrono Trigger when she was 7, and she just doesn't really remember it all that well. And she's like, "But I do remember there were multiple endings." I'm serious. As soon as she got accused of AI, she stopped replying to people. They were like, abort. Oh my goodness. What are you guys saying here? Appreciate all the detail. A hit dog will holler. It will. The age rating on Chrono Trigger was 10 plus. I've been gaming since 89-ish. I never played Chrono Trigger, says Eugene. Which makes me highly suspicious that she ever did. Oh, man. There were so many games that I didn't play because my older brother would play them. And I was like, holy frick, I never want to touch that. You know? Chrono Trigger has been re-released on the PS1, DS, and the PC. Didn't know you had to play a game only on release, though. I mean, people are obviously being cheeky. I mean, are you her friend? Are you taking up for her? What did Lulu Cheng do? Not familiar with her. What did Lulu Cheng do? She was the champion. She was the queen. Oh boy. The Xbox boys on Twitter loved her, man. She was out there defending the ABK deal, talked about how it was going to be so good for gamers. And when the ABK deal, when that ink dried on the contract, she took her bonus check and she bounced. She was out. And now she's out here acting like, yeah, it's okay if she doesn't need to be a gamer to be a CEO. And it was like, I didn't see anybody ask you to comment here, Lulu. She was like the people's champion of Team Green, dude. They really liked her. She was out there defending that ABK deal, you know. Buddy, she got that bonus check from that acquisition, and she was out. Thank you for the $2 super chat. 60 Wee Hoodsta says plot twist: Sony buys Xbox. No. It was a pretty embarrassing spectacle at the time. So when she decided to weigh in and act like this could be a good thing, it was like, I don't think you're helping Asha Sharma right now, Lulu. I don't know if the Xbox guys think of her now. I mean, maybe they still think she was great, but she was all about that ABK deal. And so were all of them. They were all about it. And I don't think a lot of them think the same way about the ABK deal anymore. I don't know. It seems to me that hasn't aged all that well. That the ABK deal has not aged all that well. It's like people feel that was kind of a tide shift for everything. The Verge article I'm reading is really suspect. Why blame Bond for everything when Spencer was above her? It's very weird wording in this article. Wait, what Verge article? Can you give me the title of the article? What do you mean they're blaming Bond? Chrono Trigger was on PlayStation 1. Are you guys saying she's a pony? Apparently. Asha's about to learn that AI responses may have worked at Instacart, but gamers are vicious, vile, different breed when it comes to social media. Zubair says, some of y'all mother evers are taking this too serious. We are saying this all with a smile. I don't actually think she's a Terminator, maybe a sentient toaster or something. Yeah, like, you guys gotta understand, like, listen to the tone of my voice. Like, I'm laughing about a lot of this. Like, it's not that serious. I think it's a pretty significant change for Xbox. I mean, I think that's fair to say. I think Satya pulled the trigger on this whole thing. I think this, like I said, I think Xbox is dead. Long live Microsoft. That's what this feels like to me. So people think if they didn't purchase ABK, they still wouldn't have played out like this. It's hard to say, Prosy, when you write that amount of money. Like, Xbox could have continued to just be doing its Xboxy thing over here. Microsoft wasn't paying that much attention to them. They're really going to pay attention to your division when they write a $70 billion check. Like, they're just going to. Oh, this one here. The Verge. Inside the Microsoft Xbox leadership shakeup. Microsoft has a new gaming CEO who wants to bring Xbox back from the brink. Yeah, it seemed like I have to continue reading Notepad with a Verge subscription. I have to pay money to read that. Yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to do that. A Member Plus renewal from Cat Uncle, 29 months, says number go up. Boom. Let's make that number go up. Thank you so much. The AI executives are starting to compare feeding a human for 20 years as a training cost to AI training costs. That's right. You don't make that comparison unless you're building Terminators. I saw some people questioning Phil's time, and it felt a little harsh. You can end up in third without being incompetent. Listen, you have to understand something. I am not going to sit here. I'm not going to show that in our waffle. If someone like The Verge has something behind a paywall, I feel like I would feel really wrong about showing it and reading it. So if you guys, he's provided a link in the Discord. I mean, that's not. I feel funny about that. You know, they're taking somebody's paid content and making it free. I'm not going to do that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Phil. The situation with Phil is funny because I've been pretty critical of Xbox the last couple of years. I think I got more and more critical as time went on. And I've been critical of Phil a handful of times. I did not like the way he handled the situation with Larian in Baldur's Gate when he did the interview with Destin. I didn't like the way he handled the interview with Windows Central where he said, like, oh, we have no plans to bring Game Pass to PlayStation and Nintendo. I didn't like the way he handled the just 4 games thing, right? It's like just rip the dadgum Band-Aid off, right? So I've been critical of Phil, but you have to be fair to Phil as well. This homie was handed a building on fire. The building was on fire, boys. Microsoft wanted to shutter the gaming division. That's how bad things were. Phil stepped in to an absolute disastrous situation, turned the brand image completely around. I mean, I want you to think about how people, up until the last couple of years, like, think about going into this generation. It's 2019, and we're going into this gen. The feeling about Xbox had changed dramatically compared to when always online, extra $100 for the Kinect, you know, the Don Matrick, you know, fumble, the TV thing. Listen, he turned the whole vibe of the brand around. And listen, he backed the losing horse. I think he hitched their wagon too firmly to Game Pass. And I think he played the card that he was dealt. And I'm going to explain in a minute what I mean. Kira He, with 9 months over there on Purple, getting us to 29, says, hey, Lono, love your content. Also so thankful that you are doing such an awesome job. Hope my support helps a bit. Every single subscription helps. If you guys are watching on YouTube, we are working on a goal right now. We have like 507 people paying for their own membership. We want to get that to 600. So click join. It's $5. You get an emote, batch of emotes, a badge, and you get into our Discord. You can help us with that goal by clicking join right now or use the join command in chat. I feel like Phil played the cards that he was dealt. And this is what I mean. I can make sense of Game Pass if Phil looks at the landscape of their studios and he looks at Microsoft and how Microsoft treats its studios. And I think Phil knew we are never going to deliver AAA excellence. our games are always going to be more mediocre. I think he knew that. I think that's why he stressed in the one interview, you need creatives. You need creatives. He said the word creative like 8 times. I think he's been fighting a losing battle this entire time, and his battle has been with Microsoft. He's not been able to empower these studios when half of 343 is on a contract and they're all having to leave after 18 months. You're never going to build an excellent AAA, like high peer-reviewed Halo. You're never going to build a good game in that circumstance, okay? So that's why I think Phil played the Game Pass card. He played a value card of, we're going to give people just an immense amount of value on Game Pass so that if the games are more in the 8 out of 10 range consistently, not in the 9 out of 10 range, 7.5, 8 out of 10 range, that's okay, because we're going to push Game Pass. I truly believe that's why he played that card. I think he looked at the state of everything over there and he thought, we are never going to go toe-to-toe with the stuff that PlayStation's doing with their games. We're never going to go toe-to-toe with Nintendo's property. Nope. We're going to have to play the Game Pass card because our games are always going to have issues. They're never going to be at that level. I think that's why he played the Game Pass card. That's my theory. Cat Attack with a $5 super chat says, did you read the State of Gaming 2026 report? It seems like gamers aren't playing games, just Roblox, Fortnite. What can Microsoft do to attract gamers? The reason, I've not read that yet, but the reason I don't find those stats compelling is I believe those stats are always cherry-picked. They're like, oh, there are more hours in these games than other games. Oh, okay, can we look at the sales charts of games? Can we look at the success of games like Mugenics? Can we look at the success of games like Balatro and Expedition 33? You want to go to Gamer Hours? Like, I feel like that statistic always gets so grossly misrepresented, where it's like, oh yeah, everybody's just playing these games, gaming is dying. It's like, okay, tell that to all the breakout hits, tell that to all the chart-topping games. I don't know what to tell you. It's like the people that said, AAA is dead and AA and Indie are taking over, and then you look at the sales charts and you're like, yeah, all the top games are AAA games. I don't know what the heck you're talking about. I think it's very easy to look at behavior numbers and come to conclusions that I just don't think are accurate. It's like, you could look at my nephew's profile on his PlayStation, and you'd be like, well, he's played Call of Duty way more than Spider-Man 2 and Lies of P. Therefore, yeah, that's all his generation's playing. And it's like, yeah, but he played Lies of P and Spider-Man 2. He liked them. He rolled credits. Those games are not designed to be engaged with the same way that Call of Duty is, the way that Fortnite or Apex is. I feel like people run with that stat all the time, and they completely misrepresent what's going on. Like, there are games that have sold incredibly well and are breakout indie titles, breakout AA titles, AAA titles that are selling like crazy. AAA's been dead and dying for 6 years, those people. Yeah, I just don't get it. It's like, I don't know. I'm not compelled by those stats because I think those stats really, really misrepresent what's really going on. You get in free if you follow it through Tom's post. The paywall is there if you're coming in from some random way that doesn't give them engagement on their posts. So you're saying if I go to Tom's Blue Sky and I click on the link, a savvy Verge subscriber has gifted you this article. Wonderful. Okay. So you're saying that they blame Sarah Bond in this article? That's what somebody said. Guys, try to get us to 300 likes over there on YouTube. Thanks for such a huge turnout today. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, listen, I know a lot of people are upset about this, and some of y'all are having a go at me on like my poll and stuff about this topic, and you're like, you're probably thrilled about this. You cheered. You wanted Xbox dead. No, I didn't. The people that cheered for the death of Xbox are the ones that cheered for the ABK deal. So quit coming at me with your feelings, all right? Like, this idea that I'm just some Xbox hating pony when the reason you're in this predicament is because of things like the ABK deal, right? The things that I champion for Xbox would have made for a very different outcome. And a single gifted from Stone Spire, he's trying to tempt the first 20 bomb of the week, a prime from Data Dads with 42 months. We're 20 away from the next big milestone of 50, where I will owe you guys a member. I remember saying rather strongly, instead of spending $69 billion on ABK, they could have taken half that and invested it in their studios. They could have expanded their studios. They could have equipped their, like, you could have been willing to pay for the benefits of your employees and not had people leaving on a contract every 18 months. They could have completely spent that money in different ways, and I think you'd be in a very different situation. I think you'd have better titles, better games. They could have done a better job with distributing the hardware. All those things could have happened. So the idea that, like, I cheered for a version of Xbox we didn't get. This idea that, like, oh, you're happy, you wanted them to die. No. People didn't want to have to buy Call of Duty, so they cheered for the ABK deal. And this is where we are. You got your way. You got Call of Duty on Game Pass. I hope it was worth it. You can run this narrative and run to my comments and seethe and mauled about how you hated Xbox and you wanted them to die. And it's like, no, I wanted them to do all the things they promised me they were going to do this gen. It's why I bought a Series X first. Didn't pan out. Didn't pan out because they went a completely different direction. A direction that seemingly everybody that loved the brand so much was always in lockstep with every directional change. So, I don't know how you could actually turn and flip this around and have a go at people like me, which from the beginning I said this was a terrible idea. I said ABK would fundamentally change the strategy to a software strategy. It would become a Microsoft-centric strategy, and look where we are. Look where we are. Go back and watch the broadcast. Watch my coverage of ABK. I said that time and time again. I said, this is going to push them further and further toward a software strategy. Microsoft is going to implement the way they treat software. They're going to treat games that way. And now who's in charge of Xbox? Somebody who feels like a direct extension of the Microsoft software strategy of AI, platform expansion, like adapting the technology and the services to the consumer itself and not focusing on building quality games. The article puts this as an Xbox all on Bond. She doesn't get that marketing without the rest of the Microsoft higher-ups. Yeah, I mean, the whole this is an Xbox or everything is an Xbox, that was attributed to her a long time ago, and I thought that was interesting. I thought that was interesting at the time that, like, they let that out. I don't think I've ever heard that before. Like, I don't think I've ever heard a company, like, let something like that leak. Oh, yeah, that was so-and-so's idea. Like, it was almost like they knew. They're like, yeah, we're not sure if this is going to work, so make sure everybody knows that was Sarah Bond's idea. All right, so let's read this article from The Verge here. Xbox fans have been anticipating the retirement of Microsoft gaming CEO Phil Spencer for years, but what most hadn't expected was the departure of Xbox president Sarah Bond, too. For many outside the company, Bond seemed like Spencer's natural successor, a deputy of sorts. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella and Microsoft CFO Amy Hood clearly did not agree. Instead of picking Bond for the role, Microsoft promoted Asha Sharma, a former Microsoft AI executive, to the top of Xbox. The decision to overlook Bond might have surprised many Xbox fans, but for more than a dozen current and former Microsoft employees I've been speaking to, it felt inevitable in recent months. Okay, so Tom's saying he went and talked to people at the company, and it was like, yeah, they all kind of sensed this was coming. Phil Spencer, Microsoft's long-term Xbox executive chief, made the decision to resign from Microsoft last year after a tough few years for Xbox. The giant Activision Blizzard acquisition has dragged on for far longer than Microsoft had anticipated, and the need to grow the business saw Microsoft walk away from Xbox exclusive games in favor of a multi-platform strategy. Microsoft has also been trying to reinvent the Xbox brand beyond the console with mixed results. Spencer's decision led to months of careful successor planning. It was announced to the world on Friday, but it was supposed to be today. Microsoft was forced to announce early because it started to leak, and IGN was planning to run with the story, according to sources familiar with the situation. This is interesting because the same thing happened with when they changed directors on Marathon. IGN had the story, and they were going to run with it, and they ended up basically forcing Bungie to announce. So As much as we give IGN a lot of grief, and they deserve it. This is the second time they forced something like this. That kicked off a day of chaos where teams inside Xbox were hearing the news first through reporters and news outlets instead of via internal memos. The team running Sarah Bond's social media accounts were so unprepared that a LinkedIn post inviting people to provide feedback about Xbox accessibility features went live just before her departure was announced. It sat there for hours until Bond's team eventually posted her own memo. What was really interesting, too, about Sarah Bond's departure was that Phil basically announced her departure. She didn't get to do it. I thought that was really interesting. It was like, the whole thing felt like it was really, really sudden and out of left field because, you know, her social team is completely unaware. They've got like this post on LinkedIn that goes out, and Phil announces her departure. It's very bizarre to me. It's like, wait, why wouldn't she be given the opportunity to say something? Why wouldn't she be able to why wouldn't she be given the opportunity to do this, with grace? Maybe they planned to let her do that and IGN sped everything up. And so that's why it was all chaos. Because apparently she didn't know it was coming. So she was going to find out on Monday? Microsoft executives shared 4 memos with Xbox teams on Friday, but only Phil Spencer mentioned Bond. Satya Nadella, Microsoft Gaming EVP Matt Booty, and the new Microsoft Gaming Asha Sharma all had kind words for Spencer, but no mention of Bond. You know what? I'm just going to say, frick Matt Booty for that. Seriously, bro. That's cold. I don't really care if Satya doesn't want to mention her. That's fine. Satya is gonna be like CEO of Microsoft in every circumstance, right? He's gonna be pretty cold blooded. That's how he got to where he is. Asha Sharma doesn't have to say anything either, But for Matt Booty to not say anything kind about Sarah Bond in this situation, man, come on, dude. That's low class, bro. Even Bond's own memo to her teams didn't arrive until hours after the announcement, and it wasn't part of the Microsoft's blog. Man, that's cold, bro. That's cold. Like, they didn't include her in, anything. Like I said, it's like the only reason we even knew is because Phil said something about it. That's some BS, man. They had her front and center in so much stuff. Some Xbox employees I've been speaking to saw the writing on the wall for Bond last year. She was promoted Xbox president in October of 2023, just days after Microsoft finalized its $68.7 billion deal to acquire Activision Blizzard. Bond had been crucial in getting the deal over the line with regulators and slowly started to become the face of Xbox as Spencer took on the complicated duties of integrating a huge new business into Microsoft gaming. Excuse me. 6 months after Bond's promotion, Xbox executive Kareem Kodri, who reported directly to Bond, departed Microsoft and triggered another shakeup of some teams inside Xbox. Kodri was key to Xbox's backward compatibility support and helped bring Xbox Cloud Gaming to life as xCloud in 2019. See here. Just weeks after Kodri departed, former Xbox Chief Marketing Officer Jarrett West also left Microsoft in June of 2024. That meant that meant Xbox marketing team was now reporting directly to Bond. A month later, Microsoft delivered marketing campaign that signaled people did not need to buy an Xbox console anymore. The message was that you don't need an Xbox to play Xbox because games were available through xCloud Gaming on TVs. This was all part of the Xbox Everywhere strategy that Bond had been pursuing, a vision to move the Xbox brand beyond its roots in console hardware. Months later, the This Is an Xbox campaign launched with commercials that positioned a phone or a tablet as an Xbox instead of just a console. It was a confusing campaign, and I'm told it offended many Xbox employees internally. Chowdhury, that's how you say his name? I appreciate the correction there. Henry with 20 months of membership said, I thank you for this. I don't think this change in leadership will be for the better. They will just be yes men to Satya and the board. Let me add that to the total. I'm pretty sure I did not add that to the total. They're blaming her. We felt for a long time they were going to turn her into the scapegoat. We felt like for the longest time they were going to act like that she was the scapegoat. Like they let her call all these shots, And the brand was already in trouble. And listen, I do think she deserves blame here. This was a bad marketing move. I think it was a bad move. I don't think it helped. I think it already diluted a brand that was diluting before our eyes. Alex comes in with 25 months over there on YouTube, says, honestly, I feel bad for Sarah being used as a scapegoat in the one interview. I may not agree with her dodging questions, but come on, man. Yeah, like this 100% feels like for the longest time, they were keying her up to take the blame for all of this. And it's like, she's not the one that did all of this stuff. Poor Bond, Sarah Bond was brought in just to take the fall. Been saying that for a year. Yeah, Creature's been saying that for a long time. They're going to have her take the fall. And I was like, she seemed like such a good face for the company. Why wouldn't you have her take over and try to turn things around? It seems like maybe they had other ideas. This is an Xbox also debuted months after Bond appeared on stage at the Bloomberg Technology Summit and announced an Xbox mobile gaming store that was supposed to launch in July of 2024. It still doesn't exist almost 2 years later. That's insane to me. Although attempts to redefine Xbox were clearly tied to the mobile store efforts, Microsoft still went ahead with This Is an Xbox after the store was delayed. The pivot away from console, led by Bond under Spencer's direction, hasn't gone well for Xbox. Microsoft's Xbox hardware revenue has declined for 3 financial years in a row, and it looks like those declining revenues are going to continue throughout fiscal 2026. Now, hang on just a minute here. So when did she take over and push this out? What's the timeline? June of 2024. Okay, so this meant Xbox marketing team was now reporting to Bond. So halfway through 2024, she takes over, okay? And they run the you don't need an Xbox thing, and then they do the Xbox everywhere thing was like last year or whatever, okay? The idea of like, if you're trying to make it seem like the hardware declined because of Sarah Bond, bro, like, that seems really unfair, man. Like, they were already dealing with declining hardware numbers, and it wasn't her call to do tariffs or to raise the price of the Xbox that also hurt them. They raised the price of Xbox twice. It wasn't her call to raise the price of Game Pass, okay? It wasn't her call to move day and date to Ultimate and to stop doing exclusives. She comes in at the tail end and attempts to put a bow on this thing, and you want to act like this is her fault? Get the frick out of here. She's a part of it, yes. I think her marketing strategy and the idea of This Is an Xbox, I don't think that was good. But you want to hang the trajectory of Xbox on her? That's a load of bull. That's ridiculous. All these decisions they made over the years with Game Pass and what they did to Halo and 343, get the heck out of here with this. The hardware decline is not at her feet. I reject that entirely. That's ridiculous. C Squared 3000 with 35 months on Purple, and then he's going to come over here with 53 months on YouTube. He says, double it. You know, and listen. I'm not going to have a go at The Verge or Tom Warren, but I think this is really unfair. The way this is phrased and the way this sets up, it's seeming to like almost indicate that like the revenue of their hardware declined for 3 financial years in a row. Yeah, that would have started in 2023 prior to her taking over. Actually, that would have started in 2022. So if the hardware decline started in 2025, 3 years, so that'd have been 2022. Yeah, that'd have happened prior. Like if they started having hardware declines back then, you can't lay this at her feet. I don't think she helped. But again, what was she supposed to do? You had completely eroded the idea of the brand and the console and why you would come to Xbox. No more exclusives. Halo looked like a joke. Like, come on. Isn't this what they were told and the picture painted to them? It's not their opinions, is it? I mean, I'm just giving you my opinion. I mean, to me, all this was set in motion, and to act as if Sarah Bond is the reason this all happened, I think is ridiculous. Most of the current and former Xbox employees I've spoken to in recent years are relieved that Bond is leaving Microsoft. This is cold, man. I've heard from multiple sources that Bond has been tough to work with. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Okay. Okay, no, okay. That's fine. $5 super chat from God Emperor Sofa King. But having the campaign telling normies not to buy an Xbox, even if the brand's been degraded, like literally having the company itself say it. Listen, I felt like her decision to do that with the marketing was the natural trajectory of what they had done with the brand. Like, that was the natural trajectory. She's not the one that put out the Starfield. I'm mad about this. She is not the one that put the thing out with the Samsung television that said no console required. That was not under her watch. She wasn't in charge at that point. That was during Starfield. That was during the lead up to Starfield. That they started that trajectory long before Sarah Bond walks in and says, well, just call everything an Xbox then. Like, they had already set that trajectory. To act like this is her fault, and now we're going to play this game? She was tough to work with. Like, we're going to play the corporate gossip game? Get out of here. This is so low class to do in the wake of this situation. This is so low class. They disrupt the entire leadership, walk her and Phil out the door, and we're going to do this like, oh yeah, it was Sarah. She kind of did all this stuff, and nobody liked working with her. Eugene says, I'm going to say it. Mediocre white man fails upward. Intelligent black woman is scapegoated. In frickin' February, bro. Like, what the frick are we doing here? She built a team structure that meant if you didn't follow the vision or questioned it, you were out. Most have praised her ability to strike partnerships with companies and developers, though. You know what this reminds me of? You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like when people bellyache about a CEO or somebody being hard to work with, and what it sounds like to me is you didn't like what they asked of you. Like, she was really hard to work with, but they praised her ability to strike partnerships with companies and developers. So she got things done, and you didn't like working with her. You know what I say? I say get the frick over it. That's what I say to those people. Like, get over it. I wrote in December of 2024 that Bond had, quote, staked her career reputation on the idea of Xbox being everywhere across multiple platforms and devices. Again, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. This was the... Oh my gosh. This was the natural trajectory of Xbox. She didn't stake her career on Xbox being everywhere. They buy ABK. They decide there's no such thing as an exclusive anymore. They tell people during the marketing lead up of Starfield that you don't need a console to play it. They partner with Samsung Television. All of this was put into play before she starts pushing out this idea. Listen, if you set a bunch of logs and wood in my backyard and you start hammering a wood ladder to the side of the tree, and then I come in at the tail end and I build a tree house, you can't be like, yep, he was the one that had the idea to build the dadgum tree house. It was like they laid all the track before her. This was the natural trajectory of the brand at this point. They had completely jettisoned the idea of the console being central, the way the Series X was treated. They're the ones that launched the Series S and hamstrung the entire generation. This is a bunch of bullcrap. You're trying to pull this late game blame Sarah Bond thing. I won't freaking stand for it. This is garbage. This is absolute garbage. You set the brand on a trajectory of absolute dilution, and you want to blame Sarah Bond for coming in at the end and being like, well, basically what we've been telling people is they don't need an Xbox. So why not just own that and be like, yeah, Xbox is everywhere. Everything is an Xbox. The marketing was bad. It was. I thought it was poor. But it was the natural trajectory of the brand. It was where everything was heading. They had been signaling it for years. I'm pissed, y'all. I'm pissed because I didn't agree with everything that she said or did. But this is low class, man. I think this is low class. I don't like it. This also involved carefully managing her image both internally and externally, making her appear to be a gamer like Phil Spencer. In reality, she wasn't. What the frick are we doing, man? What the frick are we doing? And you wrote that sentence? This got past the editing staff? I never felt like she postured like she was a gamer. I never once felt like she came out and postured like she was a gamer. She was this great like personality. I felt like they used her because she's pretty. I think they like that. They like to put attractive people in front of the camera. I mean, look at news anchors and shoutcasters and hosts. They're always attractive, right? She was a perfect fit. But she was also really good on camera. I mean, you can have a gorgeous person that falls apart when they have to read a teleprompter. She did great. Like, this idea that, like, she tried to come out and appear to be a gamer, I don't remember ever getting that vibe from her. I never once remembered feeling like, oh, she's trying to act like she's a gamer and she's not. This is ridiculous to me. I never once... Did any of you ever get that vibe? Even the people that were like very much against Xbox, I never ever got a vibe that she was trying to fake being a gamer. I remember the first time I saw Sarah Bond, I thought, oh no, there's their scapegoat, a smart black female and outspoken, perfect fit for their narrative. Why you don't believe? Is this a guy of the Verge? There's nothing to believe here. This is pure conjecture and observation. This is opinion. There's no factual way you can state this, that she was out here trying to appear like a gamer. I never got that impression from her at all. She showed up at the events and always had a great wardrobe and would be like, hey, here's great games for you guys. I never once felt like she did the fake gamer thing. I never once got that vibe. She wasn't on Twitter talking about Chrono Trigger alternate endings like an AI. She wasn't doing that. Jiminy Christmas. She'd go to the events and she was nice to people and she did interviews. I never, ever, ever, not in a single moment of all of the stuff I've ever covered, did I ever feel like, yeah, Sarah Bond's out here fake gaming. Like she's trying to posture like she's a gamer. The only one that I ever felt like was actually trying to come across like a gamer was Phil Spencer. He would his gamer tag was shared. He would respond to people's messages on Xbox. He would literally do interviews and talk about the games that he was playing. He would wear t-shirts with like the names of games on them. Like that was 100% a vibe that Phil Spencer put out there. I don't ever felt like she did that. Not once. It felt like she was like the corporate, really, really sharp, like driven younger person that they were bringing in to basically take Phil's place. I don't know, my blood pressure's going up, y'all. This makes me feel gross. I understand that Bond's strategy has been failing internally and been questioned multiple times. Bond had tried to push mobile and cloud over console. I'm getting mad. Y'all. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Go back and read the Windows Central reporting on this. Jez Corden was one of the first people to break this story. The fact that they were constraining the production of Series X's to use them for cloud. They made more Series S's. They deprioritized their own console. That was not something that Sarah Bond did. She tried to push mobile and cloud over console. They had already deprioritized the console. Take a frickin' walk with this. That was not her. That was Xbox. This is bull. This is absolute rewriting of history bullcrap. They deprioritized their own dadgum console, and I was pissed because I bought a Series X on all those promises. That Project Scarlet trailer that they ran in 2019 at E3, and then they dropped it with the Series S as like a surprise, and then all these developers came out and warned about the Series S, and they deprioritized their own console. They constrained the production of it for cloud. This was not a Sarah Bond initiative. Oh my gosh. This rewriting of history will not stand. It won't. That is not what happened. Y'all should... I'm staticking up my microphone. Y'all should be calling any of these outlets running this frickin' narrative because it's BS. It's BS. From the very beginning of this gen, they deprioritized their own hardware. They walked out almost no games that showed off the Series X. Oh, I'm hot. I'm freaking hot. This is unbelievable. I sat here and watched this transpire. I watched this transpire over the last 6 years, and you want to come in at the late edge here, and you want to act like everything was on Sarah Bond? Jiminy freaking Christmas. I'm genuinely angry because don't insult my intelligence. I sat here and covered this brand for the last 6 years, and I watched them change all the things that they prioritized. All of the core tenets of the brand just got jettisoned out to sea. And you would be like, yeah, Sarah Bond came in and she focused on mobile and cloud over console. No, Xbox did that. Like I said, it was the natural trajectory of the brand. Don't frickin' come in here and act like this was her fault. Because I watched this happen for the last 6 years. I was critical of it all along the way. Anybody who's been loyal to Xbox should absolutely reject this level of reporting because this is a bunch of bogus nonsense. All of this was put into place and it wasn't on Bond. Is she blameless? No. She came in and probably didn't have great ideas. But when that's the hand you're dealt... So let me get this straight. You constrain the production of your own hardware to use Series X's for cloud server blades. So there's less Series X's for people to buy, so more people buy Series S's. So then Series S becomes a larger saturation of your console market. Series S is also basically an albatross on your entire generation, with Game of the Year winners like Baldur's Gate 3 having to come to your platform late. So you deprioritize hardware in that regard. Then you start deprioritizing exclusives, which is like the last bastion of a reason to buy your console. And then you bring in Sarah Bond, and you're essentially like, yes, the trajectory that we've set is that like cloud and ecosystem now matters more than the actual console. I mean, our biggest game, most talked about game, most marketed game to date, Starfield, was marketed with a Samsung television that said console not required. Here you go, Sarah Bond. What do you think we should do? And she's like, well, it sounds to me like everything is an Xbox. You've completely eroded the idea of why anybody would need to buy our hardware. Let's run marketing that owns that fact. She does it, and they're like, yeah, Bond pushed this. She pushed this idea of like mobile and cloud over console, and everything is an Xbox. And it's like, really? Really? Isn't that a daisy? Isn't that a dadgum daisy? You can set the trajectory of the brand headed straight for an iceberg, and you hand her the captain's wheel at the last second, and you're like, yeah, sorry, y'all. sorry, y'all. She ran us into an iceberg. Get the frick out of here. This is awful. I didn't even get to finish reading the sentence because I got so angry. This is an insult to anybody's intelligence who's been paying attention to Xbox this generation. This is an insult to your intelligence. This was everything that was set in motion prior to Sarah Bond being put in the position that she's been put in. It has nothing to do with her. This whole thing of like reaching potentially millions more customers. Oh, you mean like when you started putting your games on PC day and date? That wasn't her decision either. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Was that something that she did? You started putting games on PC day and date, completely getting rid of the idea of like actually having something that lands on the console and only the console. Like, I don't know, like Sony's doing that, Nintendo's doing that. You guys got rid of it. Is that on her? Kenny Powers gifts a member. This is going to be twisted into like, I'm white knighting for Sarah Bond. This isn't about Sarah Bond. It's about being honest about what happened. It's about being honest about what happened. All these things were set in motion years ago. Even before 2020, some of this was set in motion. When they started putting games on PC, many people thought that was kind of the beginning of all of this. But the result has been a classic case of chasing tomorrow's customers by neglecting today's. A 5 bomb from Siege Master. Thank you so much. Sorry, I've been slack. Stop it, Lono. She isn't going to sleep with you. It's also about not lying and doing so in a way that appears very effing discriminatory. Phil Spencer's retirement seemed inevitable to Xbox employees, particularly over the past year. In February last year, Spencer took a long vacation, and I'm told some teams had to wait weeks for sign-off on some key changes. Shortly after this vacation, rumors started circulating inside Microsoft that Spencer was getting ready to retire. Microsoft was eventually forced to deny the rumors in July, claiming Spencer wouldn't be retiring anytime soon. Cool Venom shirt, you got drip, it's all that matters. I mean, I appreciate that, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Heading into this gen, it was clear the optimal thing to do was to have a PC and a PlayStation 5 to play all the games. No need for an Xbox for a long time. Little likes chocolate on the low. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. Really. I never had any major issue with her. I was critical of things that they were doing, obviously, but I never ever once felt like she was posturing as a fake gamer and that she was the problem. All the stuff that I was critical of with Xbox started way back when, like, the Series X wasn't being treated well and the Series S was becoming like this hand wave of like, oh, it won't be a problem. And then they go after ABK, and I'm like, this won't be good for the consumer. This won't be good for the brand. It's going to push them towards a Microsoft software strategy. Like, I never once felt like, oh, yeah, this is all because of Sarah Bond. Ginger says, worst case with all of this, he's sick, which can happen. He doesn't want to share his health in all of this. But if he did get sick, I would bet he wants to just enjoy his time. Right, like this paragraph right here kind of reads like that, Ginger. Because he did that one interview and he didn't look very well. And I feel like that was around this time. And maybe he is ill. And that's none of our business. If he wants to keep that private and fight it in his own way or deal with it in his own way, that's his business. I'm taking issue with the rewriting of freaking history here and acting like this push away from console to mobile and cloud was a Sarah Bond initiative. It was not. She picked up a baton that was already set in motion and she ran it across the finish line. This is absurd. With Spencer's retirement official, Microsoft is hitting the reset button on Bond's Xbox strategy instead of embracing it further. What? Come on. I can't get 2 sentences without wanting to yell. I'm barely getting through this. Microsoft is hitting the reset button on Bond's Xbox strategy. Really? It's Bond's Xbox strategy. This is absurd. This is absolutely absurd. This is so low class. Yeah, this is Tom Warren from The Verge. This is low class, bro. The way she's being treated is completely indefensible. I am genuinely irritated at this. The lack of accuracy here. The lack of honesty, I find repugnant. This is repugnant. Nutella wrote this. Yeah, did Satya write this? What in the frick are we doing right now? This wasn't Bond's Xbox strategy. It wasn't. Like, what are we doing here? This was something set in motion this gen. There's a reason. There is a reason that so many made these predictions years and years and years ago, because it was obvious what was happening. There's a reason that so many of us were taking victory laps on this, and we were like, we saw this coming. We saw this coming, and referring to this as Bond's Xbox strategy, oh my gosh. I want you to explain to me what she had to do with constraining Series X production so that Series X's could be used for the cloud. I want you to explain to me what she had to do with the Series S, why, and parity. What did she have to do with that? What did she have to do with Starfield marketing on the Samsung television saying no console required? What did Sarah Bond have to do with that? What did Sarah Bond have to do with the CFO saying, you're going to see a bit of a change of strategy? You're going to see our first-party games going to platforms like PlayStation and Nintendo that we formerly thought were competitors. What does Sarah Bond have to do with Satya Nadella walking out the following January and saying, now with ABK, we can do what we've always wanted to do, which is publish games everywhere? What does Sarah Bond have to do with any of that? Those are all people that either outrank her at the time or still outrank her. She doesn't have anything to do with any of that stuff. That was all set in motion either by Phil or Satya or any of the other executives at Xbox and Microsoft. I hope you're right, Zubair. He says she's too smart to say anything. Future employees are sophisticated enough to see that she's the fall gal. I really hope so, because this is a load of crap. Super chat from Trill. Xbox Connect was actually her idea all along. Yeah, was she Don? Is she Don Matrick? Apparently, is that who she is in secret? A $5 super chat from the OA. I bet it was Sarah's idea to put the red ring of death on the 360. Cletus Cassidy, that's bad journalism. Thank you for the $2 super chat. I don't think this is the last time I'm going to talk about this. You have my full attention. Microsoft Gaming CEO Asha Sharma is now promising the return of Xbox in a clear message to employees that the strategy over the past few years has not been working. Oh, there it is. There it is. Just the past few years, y'all. Just make sure and insulate all the problems of Xbox to just the past few years. That's great. That's really great. It's just clear that the strategy over the past few years hasn't been working. It's amazing that it's just contained to that window of time. It's remarkable. Not only gonna make it to the end of the article, I'm like preacher mad. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm behind the pulpit. Like, I'm preacher mad right now. I am this is so bad. This is garbage. Just the past few years. I want to return to the renegade spirit that built Xbox in the first place. Good luck. Good luck with that, with your AI. Xbox employees I've been speaking to have been concerned about the Sharma appointment, particularly because of her previous role as an AI executive at Microsoft. There is also concern about her lack of industry experience in entertainment and gaming. Sharma has been clear she's not a gamer and has spent the weekend responding to people on X, even taking game recommendations. Where did she say she's not a gamer? Where did she say that? I felt like she was trying to posture like she was a gamer. It's called a glass cliff. Experts and advocate for women of color say black women are often hired or promoted to leadership roles at companies at times of crisis, within the expectation being that they will fix the issue. The task, experts say, can be so daunting that it quickly leads to burnout or even failure. The phenomenon has been coined to researchers as the glass cliff. Oh, for frick's sake. Lono, just get a pillow and let it all out. I'll tell you why this is irritating. This isn't irritating because, like, I feel like, oh, poor Sarah Bond. I think she'll be fine. I think she's in a prime position to have her career go into good places. I think, personally. She seems very sharp, well experienced. She's great on camera, and I think in our day and age, you need that. I think you need that. I think we live in an era of time where when you can sit somebody down and do, like, you know, short form content, interviews, things like that, that is a huge value point. So this has less to do with her. Like, obviously, I think this is extremely low class, and I really am any last shred of respect I may have had for this outfit is now gone, because I think this is repugnant. This is so low class, okay, to treat her in this way. And my main frustration is it's a rewriting of history, and I freaking hate that. I absolutely hate that. It's like, don't sit here and rewrite history. This has been going on the entire dadgum time, and so many of us were calling it out, and so many of us were critical of it. And, you know, I would go and look at the coverage from Tom Warren in The Verge about the ABK deal. I think that might give you a clear insight into why we're going to act like, oh, the strategy hasn't been working just for the past few years. Go read all of his coverage of ABK. And I think you'll have a pretty clear indication why this is being written in the way that it's being written. There is also concern about her lack of industry experience in entertainment and gaming. Sharma has been clear she's not a gamer. I already read that. Yeah, and I think that's totally fair for people to be concerned about somebody coming in who doesn't really have experience in the field. Some Xbox employees worry she'll force AI into everything Xbox does, but Sharma was clearly ready for that reaction. Yeah, you know, she said the thing about monetization and AI evolve and influence the future. We will not chase short-term efficiency and flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop. Games are and always will be art crafted by humans and created with the most innovative technology provided to us. Okay, great. The other concern is that she's been appointed by Nadella as some kind of executioner of the Xbox console. Yeah, one, I think this is actually a completely legitimate fear that is shared by consumers as well, because this very much feels like a change in order. Like, you had the heir apparent, and you basically shoved her and Phil out very unceremoniously, and in doing so, you bring in somebody that feels like it's a direct tap from Satya. It's like, yep, I want her. I think she's a go-getter. She's young. She's hungry. She's got experience growing platforms, and she's got good experience with AI. Bring her over. It 100% feels like a Satya Nadella tap. Like, that I would be concerned as well if I was in the Xbox division. Her memo doesn't suggest that, and Microsoft could have easily appointed Matt Booty into that role to push game publishing instead of Xbox console. I get the impression from sources that Microsoft wants a turnaround and is worried about losing Xbox. And is one of its only remaining successful consumer brands. This is actually interesting because I don't get that impression from Microsoft at all. Like, Tom's saying he gets impression from his sources that Microsoft wants a turnaround and is worried about losing Xbox. It's one of the only remaining successful consumer brands. I don't know. I've never gotten that impression from them. I feel like they've been so over it for the longest time that to hold on to Xbox at this point. They don't. Microsoft does not posture that way to me at all. They posture in a way as if this entire division is disposable, but maybe they have a longer plan in mind, and they want that name to survive. Just the name Xbox. Those who know Sharma better describe her as enthusiastic, willing to learn, and very capable of getting teams to execute on a clear vision rather than coming in as a product executioner. She also has a history at Instacart and Meta for overseeing platform launches and getting people to use products, the type of user acquisition that Xbox has failed at in recent years. Sharma's non-gaming credentials don't mean that she can't do a good job at Xbox, but it still will be a tough gig to step into the shoes of Phil Spencer, who is widely respected inside and outside of Microsoft. Okay. I see you. I see you. I see you, Tom. That's fine. That's fine. You got to get one more little jab in. That's fine. He'll be remembered for the impact he had turning Xbox around in more than a decade ago. Xbox could have easily died after the Xbox One disaster, but Spencer made transformative decisions that have benefited the entire gaming industry. I mean, come on. This is... Jiminy Christmas. Are you getting a slice of Phil's severance or something? What the frick? What the actual frick? Phil Spencer is the guy that was at the helm. He was at the helm when all this stuff happened. When they decided to do Game Pass, which has not gone well for them. He decided that they were going to start putting games on PC. He was at the helm when the Series S was greenlit. He was at the helm when they decided to go after these large acquisitions. What do you mean? Like, this guy's got like a perfect track record all of a sudden? Good Lord. I'm telling you, the idea that you're going to write this sentence about Phil Spencer and have the gall to act like this is all on Sarah Bond, this is I think this is probably the most absurd thing I've read in the history of sitting here with you guys and reading articles. This is absurd. Like, yes, I just this morning gave Phil credit for turning things around. I said he was handed a building on fire. He was. Phil deserves credit for that. He does. He was handed a ridiculous scenario. I even argued that, like, I could totally see that the way Microsoft treats their studios, Phil knew that they were never going to be able to compete with, like, the strength of the IP that Nintendo and PlayStation had. They were going to have to compete on value with Game Pass. And that felt like a deck of cards that he was dealt. Okay? I gave him that credit. But I also have been very critical of some of the things that he's done and things that have happened under Phil's watch. To say all the things you say about Sarah Bond and say Spencer made transformative decisions that have benefited the entire gaming industry? He led the way in consumer-friendly decisions like cross-play or allowing consumers to buy a game once and play it across both PC and console. That was all him. Under Spencer's watch, Game Pass has also forced competitors to offer similar subscription services. Are you serious? In the actual timeline history here, you think that these other, like PlayStation didn't have a subscription service before Game Pass? You might want to check the timeline here. You honestly think that Game Pass forced competitors to offer similar subscription services? What are we even talking about here? Game Pass is one of the things that many people have looked at and said it's cost you guys so much. You lost hundreds of millions of dollars by putting Call of Duty on Game Pass. Microsoft is the one who originally blocked crossplay. That's what I'm saying. The history of pushing forward crossplay, I don't think you give credit to Phil for that. If we actually go back and research this, are they the ones that pushed it? I thought there were other games that were pushing crossplay that pushed it first. And yeah, PS Now was out before Game Pass was out. PlayStation was free at first, let's not forget. That's what I'm saying. Like, what are we even talking about? You just gave this guy a bunch of resume points that I don't even think are historically accurate. I think we'd have to fact check all of this because I don't think this is accurate. Yeah, I think Epic would be more Epic and Rocket League. I think historically speaking, you could fact check me on this. I think this is the reality of it is that I think Epic and Rocket League were the games and the platforms and the companies that were more pushing and more transformative to the market with respect to crossplay. I don't think it was Phil Spencer. And Game Pass, there were subscription services already in place before Game Pass came out. Nobody was forced to do anything to rival Game Pass. Now, you could argue that PS Plus has gotten better because of Game Pass, but PS Now was out before Game Pass. Like, that's not a historical accurate thing to act like, oh yeah, he had them. They had to offer similar subscription services. There were already subscription services in the market at that point in time. Epic due to Fortnite, Rocket League. Yeah, Rocket League and Fortnite were massive catalysts for crossplay. Not Phil Spencer. PlayStation Now launched in open beta in North America in January 28th, 2014, and the full subscription service launched in January 13th of 2015. It was later expanded to Europe on April of 2015 and Japan in September of 2015. Xbox Game Pass was released in 2017. Might want to edit this one. Not a retraction, just an edit, you know. Let's just make sure and edit this one. Spencer is also departing at a time when the Xbox Series X and S generation has failed to put a dent in Sony PlayStation sales and during a period of turmoil in the games industry and within Xbox. This, you gotta make sure and tack this on here. It's always, you gotta always hitch, you always have to hitch his failings and Xbox's failings to the industry. It's the industry after all, even though Nintendo and PlayStation are doing just fine. But make sure and hitch anything that happened poor under Phil's watch, make sure and hitch that to the wagon of the entire dadgum industry, as if it has nothing to do with him and his leadership and mistakes that he made. Layoffs and studio closures have plagued the Xbox division after the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and there are big questions about Microsoft's gaming acquisitions, the side effects of its Game Pass push, and the future of the Xbox console itself. Spencer won't be here to answer them anymore. Yeah, so the Xbox Game Pass push, that was Phil Spencer. So the side effects of that, that's on him. The big gaming acquisitions, those all happened under Spencer's watch. Tom Warren at The Verge was consistently reporting on the ABK deal and seemingly was in support of the ABK deal. All the things that have happened after ABK, side effects of Game Pass, the hardware not doing well, the Series S being an albatross this entire gen, that all happened under Phil Spencer's watch. And we're just going to glide right over that and act like, yeah, it's the industry, y'all. Sharma now has the opportunity to define the next 25 years of Xbox, and we're about to find out if she can turn Xbox around and execute on a clearer strategy. The next 25 years belong to the teams who dare to build something surprising, something no one else is willing to try, and have the patience to see through. We've done this before, and I'm here to help us do it again. Well, we can definitely count on The Verge at the end of this generation to write some piece that completely misrepresents everything that has happened in a repugnant and dishonest way. I am using very harsh and critical language because I feel that piece is deserving of it. It is a complete and utter misrepresentation of everything that has happened this gen. You want to lay everything at the feet of Sarah Bond? No, You want to act like all these things are on her? You want to act like none of this stuff happened because of Phil Spencer's leadership and his choices or because of Microsoft? No, absolutely not. I fully and wholeheartedly reject this reporting as a hit piece in disguise. This is the best word I can come up with is this is repugnant. It's repugnant. I wonder if they need these things to walk back day and date and all the things Game Pass. Read the chats, OG Xbox. I'm not sure what you're saying, Gone Kid. I hope Xbox guys, I hope Xbox podcasts, I hope people that watched this generation, I hope people call that piece what it is. That's indefensible. That's awful. I can't believe that that was written and approved. I can't believe that got through an editor. I can't believe it. It completely changes the entire trajectory of everything that has happened this gen and acts like it falls on her or something. Make a video calling it out. I don't know. I think I will. I am irritated at multiple levels. I think it's low class to treat a person that way. I as someone who has watched and covered and looked at all these things that have transpired over these last couple of years, I think it's insulting to come to the public and do all this in a way that seems like it's her fault or something. To watch all those things happen, to watch what happened with the hardware itself and the Series S and the Series X and everything they did along the way, I don't know. I find it to be absolutely insulting to look at this generation and to try to, safely encase all the problems to just the last few years. It's just gross. Yo, thank you, Chrono, for raiding us over here on YouTube. Guys, be sure to check out Chrono. I'm on every Friday with Ginger Prime and Chrono, as well as other guests. I don't think Scrag does content, but he's there. Yeah, I'm not gonna receipt pull Tom Warren for reporting on them saying that Phil Spencer's not retiring anytime soon. I mean, he's only as good as what they tell him in a report like that. You know what I mean? What that thing that Tom wrote right there, I think is despicable. But what him reporting last year on Phil not retiring, listen, those outlets are only as good as what they're told. Like, you know what I mean? They can't be like, oh, I don't think this is true. I think he is retiring. Like that, that would have been weird. They basically was like, no, he's not retiring anytime soon, and they reported on it. $5 super chat from Troll. Wait, so he was responsible for improving the gaming industry, but Spencer's failure at Xbox was only because of the difficulties of the gaming industry? It's awful, Trill. It doesn't even have. It's nonsensical. The whole thing's nonsensical. The whole thing is nonsensical. To sit here and act like Xbox is in the situation that it's in because of Sarah Bond's strategy is just, I don't know. I'm running out of words because to me it's just absolutely absurd. They put the brand on this trajectory. They put this brand on this trajectory, and they made all these changes, and they did all these things. Putting games on PC day and date was the beginning of a huge change. Then they do the Series S. Scroll up and see what we were saying about Xbox Live. Xbox Live on original Xbox. No. No. He was talking about Game Pass when he said that. Xbox Live was not what he was referring to. He was referring to Game Pass. It was clear he was referring to Game Pass. Saying that, it forced other companies to come out with similar subscription services. Game Pass came out after PSN Now or whatever. If you want to say that, Game Pass and Xbox Live added things to the market that would help, but when did Xbox Live start? Homie, Xbox Live started in 2002. You can't give Phil Spencer credit for that. He was clearly talking about Game Pass because in the timeline, that's what Phil Spencer brought to the table. Xbox Live predates Phil Spencer. So if you're going to give Phil Spencer credit for subscription services that allegedly, pushed competition into the market, you wouldn't be talking about Xbox Live. It predates Phil Spencer. He was talking about Game Pass. So yeah, if you want to say, oh, Xbox Live predates PSN, that's fine. It also predates Phil Spencer being in charge. He's been there since the 80s. So what you honestly think that that's what Tom Warren was talking about? Game Pass is considered like one of Phil Spencer's babies. I don't think when Tom Warren penned that, he was thinking of Xbox Live, y'all. He was thinking of Game Pass. Unless you can find internal documentation that somehow like Xbox Live was Phil Spencer's idea, whatever department he was in 2002. In 2002, like, again, I don't think that's what he was arguing. He was making a point about Game Pass. He was 100% saying that, like, he added a competitive subscription service to the market that forced other platforms to have similar offerings, which isn't true because PSN did their thing before Game Pass. An entire year before Game Pass. They're dragging Sarah Bond. Oh, I read the article, Chrono. It's terrible. Sony's service was free. Praising Xbox for a paid service option over free is nasty. PS Plus was already out, but I remember PlayStation changing their strategy when Game Pass came out. That's what I'm saying. You can give him credit for that. That's totally fine. It's in an entire article that I think is very, very awful. And if you want to give him credit and say, hey, he brought something with Game Pass that brought competition to that subscriber market, and and PlayStation made some iterations and changes that benefited the consumer, that's totally fine. You can give him credit for that. The wording, it made it sound like, he changed the industry for the better, and it was like, what the frick? Like, he brought Game Pass to the market that then had maybe PS Plus iterate on their own subscription service that was already out. If his wording was specifically Game Pass, then sure. Unless he's giving credit to him for all his accomplishments across his career, it's different, but that depends on the wording. So, Dudeness, do you honestly think that that's what Tom Warren was indicating, that Xbox Live was because of Phil Spencer? I don't think so. I think any reasonable person would know that he was not giving Phil Spencer credit for Xbox Live. He was clearly referring to Game Pass. Clearly. That's one of Phil Spencer's baby. That's one of his babies. Eugene says he gets no grace after assassinating Bond. Yeah, listen, that piece by Tom Warren at The Verge is some of the worst revisionist history I've ever seen. You're acting like this is all on Sarah Bond and it was her strategy. It isn't true. The facts and the history do not line up with that at all. They don't. This stuff was put in place prior to her having any major say over anything, prior to her even being there. Games with Gold was the start of free games. Again, that's beside the point. If you want to try and do this competition timeline of like which company came out with the sub-service first and did what first and blah, 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 acting like Game Pass brought competition to the market that changed everything for the better. It came out after PSN Now was already in the market. You could argue it was a direct response to PlayStation. Do you see? I'm not sitting here trying to keep a score sheet to make it like, well, PlayStation did it first. I'm saying the way that Tom worded it, it was like, huh? Like, are you serious? I don't think the timeline here is that we can give him all the credit for this. There was clearly a move in the market to have some level of subscription service on the consoles and on the platforms. I mean, you could give Netflix some credit as well. Netflix clearly was influencing people to think that like subscription services were all the rage, and then they've plateaued in the last couple of years. She joined Microsoft as a VP in 2017. She wasn't over here on the Xbox side though until more recently, wasn't she? I don't know what position she had prior to where she was here. I thought she came from T-Mobile, and if she was on the Microsoft side of things, I actually don't know her entire resume. She was not in a position to make these sort of tectonic changes at Xbox until very, very recently. The moment he slanders Bond and lies about the chronology, he gets no benefit of the doubt on any other aspect. He's already shown the article is meant to push a dishonest narrative. Yeah, he doesn't get any grace or benefit of the doubt from me either. Not after the way that the ABK coverage, I'm telling you, there were people out here that were very much in support of the ABK deal. And it's not surprising that after that kind of blows up and the Game Pass experiment's not going the right way, you want to act like Phil Spencer's this Saint Phil who's like riding off in the sunset. And yeah, Sarah Bond really screwed all this up, so now we got to have Asha Sharma come in to try to clean things up. Man, get the frick out of here. That's bogus. Not only is it a low-class way to treat Sarah Bond, it's revisionist history. It's insulting to your intelligence and my intelligence. We all sat here and we watched these changes take place, and we watched the reports come out about what Xbox was doing with their own hardware and their own strategy and their own acquisition movement. This was all stuff that took place and was set in motion outside of Sarah Bond's influence or decision-making. According to the wiki, she was in development and partnerships at Xbox. Right, that would not have been in a position to influence any of this stuff. They're acting like it was her strategy. It wasn't her strategy. The push away from console to cloud and mobile has nothing to do with her. There's an interview somewhere where I think it's Phil Spencer is talking about the ABK deal, and even he indicates one of the primary motivators is King Mobile. They wanted to push more into the mobile aspect. They were literally using Series X's for cloud. It was hard if you were trying to buy an Xbox Series X, and a lot of you settled and got the Series S instead. That was almost by design. They were literally constraining the production of Series X's for cloud. This was reported. That wasn't anything she had any say in. That was a trajectory set in motion by somebody else, but Phil or somebody, not her. A 5-bomb comes in from Metal Matt. I think the reason that I get really passionate about this is I pivoted into variety coverage in 2021. Shortly thereafter, 2022 and 2023, we're in the thick of it with ABK and ZeniMax and all of that. So I start really taking a hard, long look at Microsoft and Xbox and what they were doing, because I was an Xbox guy. I'd always been, right? So I start taking a look at what they're doing. And all along the way, I saw things that I thought were significantly concerning. Thank you, Metal Matt, again for that 5-bomb. Guys, if you got a gifted from Metal Matt, be sure and say thank you to him. I don't know if I gave proper thanks to you because I'm kind of like in rant mode, and sometimes I have a hard time getting off those train tracks. But all along the way, I was very frustrated. I was like, what are you doing? And I remember telling people that the Series S was a self-made Trojan horse. I said, it's a self-made Trojan horse, man. This is going to absolutely sabotage what y'all are trying to do. You can't push like new high-level graphical fidelity games and graphics if every single developer has to make sure their game runs on the Series S. It didn't stand to reason. There were guys from id Software prior to being acquired by Microsoft. There were lead engine developers at id Software who said the Series S was going to be a problem. Then I started looking at the ABK thing, and I said, this level of acquisition is never good for the consumer. It's never good for the employees. It'll lead to layoffs. It'll lead to loss of product. It'll lead to loss of talent. And that's what happened. They do ABK. They shut studios down. They lay people off. We get less product, less talent, and less studios in the dadgum market. And that was on Phil's watch. That has nothing to do with Sarah Bond. And I said at the time, this is going to push them to a software strategy. They're going to erode the idea of exclusives. And what do? The Just 4 Games podcast on Phil's watch. That's not Sarah Bond's call. It's not. That's on his watch. This is his ship at the point in time. It's on Phil. It's on Satya. It's on Microsoft. It's absurd to think that all this is going on. And what, she comes in and just wrecks the whole thing in 2 to 3 years? Wow, what amazing power she has. Metal Matt with a $5 super chat. You mentioned it. It's that's my birthday treat for the class. Sorry, I only brought 5. Guys, it's Metal Matt's birthday. Y'all know what we do here. Somebody get this thing to 50. I'll owe you a member. We're right there on the cusp. Jeff, this is why I'm in rant mode. We read Tom Warren's piece on Bond. I don't think it's. I'll be honest with y'all. I don't think that's going to go very well for him. I don't think it's going to go very well for him. It's bad. It's not written well. It's revisionist history. It's not accurate. It isn't. I think people are gonna be very, very upset. I think they should be. Whether you're a PlayStation fan or whether you're an Xbox fan, we can all agree that we should be getting accurate accounting of the facts. It ain't difficult to run down the timeline. It's not difficult. Especially if you do this as your job. Patrick comes in with a gifted and drops one. Super chat there from Hidden Siriu. It's funny how they blamed Don Matrick before, and now they're blaming Sarah. How do you... Listen, and I mean this. How do you screw up something so pedestrian as just laying out the facts of an event as it's transpired when this is your literal job? How is that so difficult? And a 5-bomb comes in from Hidden Siriu and takes it across the line of 50. I think it's despicable. It's an insult to the public. It's an insult to Sarah Bond. It's an insult to Xbox fans. Everybody should read that article and do exactly what I just did and point out all the problems, point out all the inconsistencies, point out all the factual inaccuracies. Just take that thing to the threshing floor. I think he should publish a retraction because I think it's got factual inaccuracies in it that indicate that this was all on her and her idea, and I think that should 100%, you should be held accountable for that kind of reporting. I think that's absurd. Savage Sharkbite with 54 months, welcome on in. Marathon reporting they're investing in networking and security for Marathon. Dedicated server-side authority over key actions to reduce exploits. Fog of war to limit wall hacks and loot revealers. Disconnect recovery. No second chances. The concern over cheating in that game is hitting a pretty big fever pitch because they're responding directly to it. Community note it. You can't community note it. It's an article. I have a degree in that stuff, says Cat Uncle. It's such irresponsible reporting. Is it even on Twitter? I mean, didn't all these guys turn tuck tail and run to Blue Sky anyway? This is an hour ago. Is this the one that we read? Is this the summary? Grok summarized it and said, Phil Spencer resigned as gaming CEO after tough years with acquisitions and multi-platform shifts. Sarah Bond unexpectedly left as Xbox president. Her Xbox Everywhere strategy failed, neglecting consoles amid revenue drops. New CEO too early. Is this the same piece? 6 months after her promotion. Yeah. I said, this is one of the most abysmal and repugnant hit pieces that I have ever read. Revisionist history attempting to scapegoat Sarah Bond. Absolutely pathetic. I'll probably get blocked, but I don't give a frick. That's what I think. I found the article you read on Reddit, and I'm seeing comments calling it out for being biased and people saying Bond is being scapegoated. I think that's exactly... Listen, You can have your own opinion. I'm not telling you what to do. But if that is your opinion, that is exactly what the public should voice. That is what the public should do. If you feel like you're getting bad reporting, biased reporting, some kind of a scapegoated piece of revisionist history, I think you should say that as the public. Because I don't think what we read is defensible at all. There is no defense of it. It's repugnant. You want to sit here and rewrite history? You want to rewrite history and scapegoat her? All right, that's fine. I'll call it what it is then. I'll call it what it is. It's absolutely absurd, and I think this is something that everybody can agree on. If you're an Xbox fan, the Xbox fans have been very displeased with where things are right now. You should feel insulted to feel like, oh yeah, it's all on Sarah Bond. It's all on Sarah Bond. Like, what? It's like, you should be insulted. So many of these decisions and things were put in place by Phil Spencer and Microsoft, and it had nothing to do with her. Detective Seeds responded. He said, I read it twice. I'm working on putting together a tweet report that shows inaccurate points just based on public available information through open sourcing. Do it. Do it. Absolutely point out all the inaccuracies, because there's so many things in there that don't... hang on a second. I don't know if you're in here, Seeds. Get screenshots. They love to edit rather than retract. They love to edit and do updates rather than retract. Get screenshots, dude. They will 100% go in there and do edit and updates to suddenly dress it up. Get screenshots, because that's exactly what happens with pieces like this. They start to get ripped up, and then they'll go in and change verbiage and phrasing, and unless you're paying attention, you won't catch it. I mean, it's contained in my stream. We read it. But that's difficult in this day and age to utilize. Like, this is a live stream. Yo, Wired Rope comes in with the 5 bomb and gets us to 58. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, I'm not saying that anybody that left Twitter to go to Blue Sky, but there was a pretty definitive move from a lot of the gaming homies that did that. Who knew we needed to unite the PlayStation and the Xbox guys was a hit piece on Sarah Bond. Here's the thing. I can disagree with and criticize, individuals and their decisions, but I will not abide falsehood. I won't. I absolutely hate it. I absolutely hate when people use their platform and their ability to sway the public to give people misleading information about another person. I absolutely, and you guys know that's a quick way to trigger me. I get very upset about that because of everything that I've been through. So the minute I see it happening to somebody else, oh boy, my hackles get raised. I'm like, don't you frickin' do that. Like, just report on what happened. Sarah Bond is certainly a part of everything that transpired, but I think it's totally fair to say everything she put into place with her marketing and her everything as an Xbox was the natural trajectory that was set for the brand. Those were not things that she set in motion. They weren't. They were absolutely not set in motion by her. It was just the natural culmination. There were people that saw that coming years before because of some of the marketing and some of the phrasing and some of the things that they had said. This guy says, and he's from Windows Central, he says, what's scapegoating about it? It was reported multiple times that the Xbox Everywhere was Sarah Bond's idea and people inside were upset, but clearly Phil was still on board. All of that, all of the decisions prior to Xbox Everywhere put them on this natural trajectory. They literally had the Starfield thing that said no console required. That's not on her. No console required. Predates Sarah Bond's initiative. Yeah, this idea that it's on her. All the decisions prior to Xbox Everywhere put them on this natural trajectory. No console required. Predates Sarah Bond's initiative. Let's see. Putting games on PC day and date. Big acquisitions. No more exclusives. Prioritizing cloud over Series X distribution. None of that is on Sarah Bond. None of that's on Sarah Bond. You should know this. This is all public information. To me, it's absurd to think that like Xbox Everywhere and everything is an Xbox is like something that she just dreamed up on her own. She was quite literally picking up the mantle of where they were taking the brand. It's just insane to me. The reset phrasing is wild. New CEO has the power to bring back consoles exclusives. No, my honest take on a lot of what Asha Sharma said in her thing, it literally felt like AI said these are good buzzwords to use with gamers, to use with Xbox fans. That's how I read it. That it didn't at all seem to me like, oh yeah, she's gonna come in and she's gonna usher in a new era of Xbox consoles and exclusives. I think she was literally using buzzwords that like AI determined would resonate with Xbox fans. Gamers understand reset. They have reset buttons. Let's use that. Sarah Bond should get a job at PlayStation. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like she was a champion that made no mistakes. What I'm saying is all of the decisions that were made that brought Xbox to this point that all predates Sarah Bond. You absolutely, if you've been following this story and this brand since we walked into this generation, you should just immediately reject that article. Just reflexively, you should be like, what the huh? Like, what? How is this on her? Like, what is this? These things were set in motion, by Phil and by Microsoft. None of this was her baby or her idea. Now, yeah, you could say that the everything is an Xbox thing upset Xbox employees, but again, she's coming in and picking up something that was already set in motion. I feel like Sarah resigned because she probably knew about Phil's retirement, and for her taking the crown, she would need to find someone to be in her corner like she was to Phil. No, I don't think so. No. Satya didn't mention her. Phil was the one that had to announce the fact that she was resigning. I don't think so at all. Yeah, I mean, Satya Nadella himself was like, he wanted to get rid of exclusives. He got his way. They got rid of exclusives. Yeah, she was posting that morning on LinkedIn. She had no idea this was coming, Lush. Like, whoever, like, manages her stuff was like, they didn't even know it was coming. She had a scheduled post that hit LinkedIn. None of that's being reported in Tom's piece. He only reports that Xbox Everywhere was her idea. She's been president since 2023. No console required was 2024? No. No. No console required was in the lead up to Starfield. And what is it? And Xbox Everywhere was the natural trajectory that they set the brand on, with all of the decisions that I listed. Acting like that is on her is BS. Yeah, I completely reject the idea in a Twitter war. No, it's a guy from Windows Central, so I'm happy to go back and forth with him and explain to him why I feel this way. I'm not warring with anybody. Like, in the lead up to Starfield, they literally had a Samsung TV ad that said no console required, and I remember people being really upset about that. I remember because, boy, the PlayStation fans, they were throwing that in the Xbox fans' face. You can't look at everything they've done, putting their games on PC day and date, and getting rid of the idea of exclusives and doing these big acquisitions. This all set them on this trajectory. They were prioritizing cloud over distributing the Series X. They were doing this, not her. Anything that was with the marketing was Phil. He had to sign off on the marketing. That's what's interesting to me, is we're going to act like she just came in as a rogue and did this, and they were all like angry about it. It's like, wait a minute. Why did they accept it? They literally accepted it because it was the natural trajectory of where the brand was going. Like, it was September 6th of 2023. Yeah, look at this. Play Starfield on Samsung TVs and Gaming Hub. No console required. This was promotional material approved and greenlit by Xbox. They were perfectly happy with this because this is where they were headed. This was not a trajectory that was initiated by Sarah Bond. This was initiated by the people in charge. Go back. You can't do this. You know, this has always been our mission. And when everybody plays, everybody wins. And gaming everywhere, that's what really matters. That's what gaming's all about. You can't run stuff like this for years, and then she picks up the mantle and she greenlights everything is an Xbox marketing campaign that is the continuation of all of this stuff. Like, if what she came out with was so absurd, then why wouldn't Microsoft reject it? She had people over her that would have been like, what do you mean everything's an Xbox, Sarah? This seems incredibly stupid. No, they greenlit it because they were like, yeah, this is kind of the natural culmination of everything that we've done to the brand, everything we've done to the identity of Xbox. She was promoted to president of Xbox on October 26th of 2023. Yeah, after they did that stuff with Starfield and Samsung, a month after. You cannot set the brand on this trajectory and greenlight all this stuff, and then she comes in. I got a DM from somebody that says, man, I 100% didn't know that Chrono Trigger had multiple endings. I got an SNES in 1991 and never played it. Chrono Trigger is only must-play for JRPG fans. That guy was tripping. I mean, I don't care about people like that. Eugene says, we called this stuff coming in 2022-ish. Yeah, like a lot of people, it's chronological malfeasance, exactly. A lot of us saw this coming. It was like, it was so clear that Xbox was starting to get rid of a lot of what they valued as a company and a brand. They were getting rid of the idea, I'm going to stop looking at Twitter, it's too distracting. They were getting rid of the idea of exclusives. We found out why it was hard to get Series X's. Jez Corden of Windows Central was one of the first people to report on that they were constraining Series X production, right? They were doing that in order to give them to cloud. They were giving Series X's to cloud stacks. The narrative that the sources didn't like everything as an Xbox campaign, I think, is bogus too. I don't think he's lying, but I think his sources need to pivot for the risk of taking a walk themselves. Somebody greenlit it. If they didn't like the fact that she was saying everything is an Xbox, the leadership could have said, we think this is a bad idea, Sarah. We don't think we should do this. The reason that they approved everything is an Xbox is because that's literally what they were promoting. Like, you can't have ads like this running. Oh, hang on. It's too low. There we go. You can't have ads like this running before she's even the president and act like they didn't set all this in motion. Stand by for Starfield on Samsung TV. No console required. This was the most talked about game in the year that it came out. It got the most attention, the most marketing, the most push. They spent a ton on this, and you can't act like using one of your most popular pieces of property coming out that year and basically telling people, yeah, you don't need a console to play Starfield. I want you to think about that, boys. That right there is the absolute linchpin in this argument, okay? One of their last major exclusive drops was Starfield, and they started telling people that you didn't need a console to play it. So if you want to pin everything is an Xbox on Sarah Bond and acts like it's her fault, it's like, you guys didn't even try to leverage Starfield to move consoles. You were telling people they didn't need one. It's ridiculous. It's like Starfield was huge. It was a huge moment from a marketing perspective. Now, the game didn't land very well. We've gone up, down one side and down the other, you know, on the problems with the game and all of that. Okay. We don't need to retie that hog, but listen, that was one of their biggest pieces of property and biggest launches. Do you remember what we said when we said that after Starfield didn't really move the needle on hardware, we thought Satya walked in the door and said, yeah, we're not doing exclusives anymore? So if they're willing to, in the run-up to Starfield, let people know that they don't need a console to play Starfield, dude, this trajectory was set before she was in charge. So her marketing and her phraseology that her and her team came up with, it started before 2023. They partnered with Samsung in 2022. Oh, King Deuce. I didn't even get into that, but that's a really good point. You have to understand that when something like that gets greenlit at Samsung to run with these ads that say no console required, that was set in motion well before that. That was probably something they were negotiating and working on internally for a while. And someone at Microsoft and Xbox said, yeah, that's totally fine for you to go out and tell people no console required for Starfield. That's a big deal for Microsoft and Xbox to greenlight that. Internally, they had decided that that was okay. They bought ZeniMax so that PlayStation couldn't get Starfield as an exclusive. This was admitted. We've seen the evidence. This is why they did it. and they determined that that's okay. And Satya Nadella's on record during the FTC trial saying, if it were up to me, I'd get rid of exclusives. Yeah, then the Amazon Fire Stick was another one. That's what I'm telling you. That Verge piece is terrible. Absolutely terrible. It's complete revisionist history. to act like this is all on her and, these 3 years and blah, blah, blah. It's absolutely terrible. She's not blameless and she made mistakes. But to me, it's weird to be like, here's this long line of decision making at Xbox that leads to this point where it's very clear that the console and the hardware has been completely deprioritized. She picks up the mantle and runs it into the end zone or runs it across the finish line. And then everyone's like, yeah, it's on her. And it's like, all of the years that led to this, I think, are more to blame than her. The trajectory was immovable at that point. There's so much inertia behind the brand at that point. What's this week's stream is going to be? I have no idea. The only thing I know for certain is that I'll play Resident Evil 9 on Friday, and then Wednesday we'll do a Resident Evil review roundup. Outside of that, I don't really schedule the week like that. It's hard to do that because I don't know what's going to happen within gaming news. If I could know that ahead of time, I mean, that would be that would be a magical power. All they had to do was make real games and charge full price for them. Some did say that she would take the fall, and I didn't believe it. Some of y'all kept saying that, and I couldn't see it. I was like, why? Why would they make her the scapegoat? It doesn't make any sense. They seemed to be setting her up to take Phil's place. They were putting her in the showcases. They were putting her in the advertisements. They had her walk out and talk about how they wanted Windows to be the #1 gaming platform. She's doing interviews about the next piece of hardware being a premium piece of equipment. Yeah, Tim Stewart spoke to the Wells Fargo Summit in November of 2023 and said that PlayStation and Nintendo were no longer competitors. That was when we learned that games were going to go to the other platforms. And Sarah had just been named president. Like, there is literally no way you can claim that she gets in and that's the first order of business. That was something that was already set in motion. At this rate, Herman Hulse is going to retire and invite you to France. That's how the week is going. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Like never in my wildest dreams, like I thought this is what was going to happen, that they would, like, I just assumed there would be a point in time where Phil would retire and he would hand everything off to Sarah. And I did have a sneaking suspicion that they would let her at the helm for a couple of years, 2 to 5. And then if things didn't turn around, she'd exit stage left. And then they would take things in a completely different direction. I feel like they just shortened that timeline and like, nah, let's just get Asha Sharma in there, get these people out. This is an extension of Microsoft now. Like I said, Xbox is dead. Long live Microsoft. Like they're Microsoft's in charge now, more than they've ever been. You don't even have like gamer-centric people in charge anymore. Sarah Bond was seen at PlayStation Studios today. They probably have non-compete clauses. Yeah, they probably do. They know too much. If you want your severance and you want all the nice treatment when you leave, because believe me, they're going to be just fine money-wise. I don't think they're worried about that. Yeah, you definitely would sign a non-compete clause because they know too much. They could go over to the competitor and absolutely, wreak havoc on anything that Microsoft is planning. We have an update on the future of Assassin's Creed. Today we're introducing new members of the leadership team that will steer the franchise's ambitious new chapter. I'm just naming leadership over. I thought Sony wasn't a competitor anymore. Tim Stewart said so. I mean, that's a fair made point, Lennon, but still, they compete in certain aspects, right? Cloud technology, cloud infrastructure, a lot of the internal workings about, I don't know. I think they would still say, yeah, you can't go over there. I get the point that you're making. You're being a little tongue-in-cheek, and I think at some level you're correct. But I also think they would say, no, you can't go work for that company because you know too much about what we do, what we're doing, what we're planning, how we do certain things. It'd be wild to find out if Phil was being told to push the play everywhere too. I don't even think anybody was pushed to it. I think, listen, I've said this for a while. That's why I'm so frustrated that they're trying to blame Sarah Bond for all of this. I said for a while that they were making the same mistake they made when Don Matrick walked out, and they were like, well, we're going to grow the Xbox brand by going after non-gamers. They were doing the TV thing. And I said, they're doing the same thing now. They think they're going to get people to play through cloud on a Fire Stick or their TV. And I kept saying, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that there's this, reservoir of consumers that are not playing on a console right now, but they're going to start playing through a Fire Stick or their smart TV. I have been critical of this for a while. It wasn't just when they rolled out the everything is an Xbox. We had been sensing that push for a while. We were like, they're really pushing the idea that the console just doesn't matter. Play Anywhere was created with Windows 10. Yeah. Those NDAs are usually like a year. Not NDAs, non-compete. Yeah, usually they're not eternal. Yeah, it's usually, for some industries, it's 90 days. Some industries, it's 6 months. For someone at their level, at that executive level, they probably can't go work for Nintendo or PlayStation or something like a direct competitor, for 12 months. Because by then, a lot of pieces on the board have moved, and that you wouldn't be able to do as much damage. I mean, you could still give a lot of the inside baseball, of a company and how they work and where things are, potentially headed. You're all missing what actually happened. The point of this hit piece was because Sarah Bond rejected Tom in high school, and he never was able to get over it. Non-competes are illegal since 2023, so they could ignore anything they signed. I was just getting ready to say, I thought that there was somewhere where they were fighting against non-competes, and I didn't remember what the outcome of it was. I didn't remember what the outcome was. Did they actually successfully make it to where, no, you can't enforce a non-compete or not? I remember that being challenged at some level, at some court level. I don't remember, though. Lena Khan, the chair of the FTC, has been strong advocate against non-compete clauses. Sad she's gone. I wonder if her ban on non-compete clauses will hold up. Phil's dream would be work for Nintendo. Yeah, I think Phil could be really instrumental. He could be really instrumental in the Asian market because he was already establishing good relationships with companies over there. He really saw the Asian market as instrumental in their future success. He really did. Why can't... I don't understand why they don't let us watch this not like this. I wonder if I can't download it. They do these sponsored segments, and it's like... Okay. I need a quick break. We're going to kind of keep streaming and keep hanging out. I have a thing at 1 o'clock, so we won't be able to do Green Room today. But there is a new movie coming out that is sponsoring this segment over here on Purple. A24 has a new film coming out called Undertone. It's in theaters March 13th. So I'm going to show you guys the trailer. And while the trailer's running... While the trailer is running, I can't hear myself. What the heck's going on? While the trailer is running, yeah, I don't sound loud enough. What the heck is going on? Anyway, while the trailer is running, I'm gonna take a quick break. Let's see. Okay, hide toolbar. Oh, there we go. Okay. I don't want to blare your eardrums. Let's make sure that I can get this to play for you. and I'm going to have it loop.
Welcome to the Undertone Podcast, where we talk about all things creepy. I'm your in-house skeptic, Evie Babbage, and I'm joined by my believer co-host, Justin Manuel.
You're gonna love this. I got something juicy.
Ooh, do tell.
10 mysterious audio recordings from an anonymous email. Let's keep an open mind, Evie.
Let me guess, it's a demonic possession.
Okay, easy, all right. We've heard weird stuff before, but this feels different.
You believe that?
I'd like to speak with Mary.
What if it's a warning?
There's only one way to find out.
We should stop listening.
What were you thinking? You shouldn't have listened to all of them. It's what she wants.
Welcome to the Undertone Podcast, where we talk about all things creepy. I'm your in-house skeptic, Evie Babbage, and I'm joined by my believer co-host, Justin Manuel.
You're gonna love this. I got something juicy.
Ooh, do tell.
10 mysterious audio recordings from an anonymous email. Let's keep an open mind, Evie.
Let me guess, it's a demonic possession.
Okay, easy, all right. We've heard weird stuff before, but this feels different.
You believe that?
I'd like to speak with Mary.
Sorry, y'all. Okay. How's it look? Was it too loud? Anyways, it looks creepy, to be fair. Let me read the thing about it. Okay. Okay, hang on a second. It's starring Nina Kiri and Adam DeMarco. It's written and directed by Ian Tuason. It's being called the scariest movie you'll ever hear. Creepy and genuinely disturbing. Absolute nightmare fuel. Truly cursed. And unholy terror. Well, there you go, y'all. Again, the movie is called Undertone. It will be in theaters on March 13th, and they did sponsor this segment. It is something that we're able to do over there on Purple. It streamlines sponsorship deals, and Paul comes in with 6 months and says this movie's going to be sick, gets us to 59. Thank you so much. Sounds like High Guard. Stop. It has nothing to do with High Guard. Anyways, they were also running a channel skin on my channel for a little bit there. You guys may have seen that for about an hour or so. This is just a great way for us to get sponsorships on Purple. Like, I'm not a very big streamer, on Purple, and it's just a great way to get some of those deals. And hey, somebody ordered some coffee, 2 bags of light roast from Chopper Eric. Don't forget that the light and the medium roast have been significantly discounted if you go to reforgeroast.com. Cheaper than, like, the grocery store. Let's see here. Okay. It's great coffee. Get it and drink it. Thank you, Chopper. I appreciate that. If you guys haven't hit the like button yet, do that for me. Get us to 400 likes. We're obviously very close to 400 likes. And we had a big day on the channel talking about everything that has happened. And very much been critical of the Verge piece on Sarah Bond. Did not at all appreciate the way that was written, and I don't know. I wonder how many other people are gonna take issue with that reporting. Bungie is currently talking about stuff they're going to do for cheaters. We may end up covering that another day. I haven't had time to really look into that. But does the coffee melt? No. Mikey Bot says, love missing the whole show due to work. I'll have to watch it back. Give me something to do this afternoon. Scapegoating Bond like that was crazy. Sarah Bond wanted High Guard as an exclusive on Xbox, apparently. Oh, did you see apparently PlayStation wanted Crimson Desert? Yeah. Wanted Crimson Desert as an exclusive. Word of the day, repugnant. That's right. Doubt anyone will. It fits their narrative to make her the scapegoat. I don't know, man. I think there are a lot of people that have really been Xbox's corner up to this point. You know, they've been in Xbox's corner. I don't know if they're going to agree with this this push to make it seem like everything falls on Sarah Bond, and yeah, I don't know. If you've been watching the brand and you've been watching Xbox and the mistakes and the missteps, then I think it would be really, really weird to not be like, man, it seems kind of weird to act like this all kind of falls on her. I don't know. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that piece will age very well, because I think more and more people will really look at everything and be like, this doesn't really seem to really grapple with everything that happened and everything that led to this moment. And you want to act like just the last couple of years and everything is an Xbox. Well, yeah, that's just that's what brought us to this point. I just think that's really disingenuous. It really was. I mean, they were not in a great spot when she took over. You know, so Lovelier Zero says hi, hello, thanks for being here. Double check your memberships, your primes, and the like button. Those are all things you guys can double check. Phil gets no accountability because he has a presence on Xbox Live. I'm not sure what you mean. That was a hit piece. I love the shirt. Oh, thank you. This is an old one. I was cleaning out my closet. I have so many shirts, you know, that I was like, man, I need to get rid of some. Then I found some old ones that I hadn't worn in a while, and this is one of them. I was like, oh, that's a good one. She never really took over. Broken Messiah says, I said it cost $70 million to kill Xbox on Reddit subreddit Xbox banned me. I think you meant to say 70 billion. Could Phil be behind the hit piece? Is he trying to cover his own butt? Is that on brand for Phil? No, I don't think that he would do that. Thank you for the gifted Darth Nihilus, rounding us out to 60 on the week so far. No, because the issue, Phil is the reason that we even know. Wait a minute. I think I know why. microphone might be lower than normal. Nope. Yeah, it's all the way up. I don't know. It seems like it's lower. It seems like it's like lower in OB. What the heck was... Did you guys see that? Did that look real glitchy and buggy to you? Oh yeah. I think my camera's acting up. Hello? Yeah, I think my camera... Can you guys hear me? My bit rate's fine, but my camera is completely jacking up. Can hear you, but you're frozen. Okay, give me a second. Yeah, the computer's acting fine, but it's like, huh. I'm not really sure what's going on. I had been saying for a while that I felt like something was going on with this computer, but... It could be the cam link is going bad. Huh. Yeah, I'm wondering if the cam link's going bad because the camera itself is fine. Huh. Let me switch cam links and see. Yeah, Microsoft got me, boys. No. Hello. Interesting. Let me add a video capture device. Huh. Yeah, it's like it can't even detect it. Wait, I have an idea. What if I... Yeah. Yeah, it's acting like... Try a different USB port. Huh. I mean, we thought that going through the USB hub was the solution to a lot of our problems back in the day. Up, haha. Oh, but that's not 60 FPS. It doesn't like that port. Okay. Yeah, it's... Nope, there we go. Yeah. It's like it's not registering at the right... Hang on. I wonder if the extender cable went bad that I'm using. Huh. Like I'm just plugged directly in. I had this extender cable that I was using for the Elgato Cam Link. Okay. Hey. Yeah, there we go. I think we're back to normal. The only thing I could think is it was like that I had like a USB extender that I was using, and maybe that just went bad. I don't know. I mean, out of nowhere, I pulled up my audio devices, and I was like, oh, look at that. It's, I'm making sure my volume was all the way up. Well, when I did that, all of a sudden, like, the frames just went crazy. Maybe it's too soon, and maybe I'm out of line, but can't see his face, Lono. That's right. Yeah, sorry about that. I really, truly don't know what the issue was. The only thing I could think is that cable went bad, like, right at that moment. Oh, yeah, it's just the white balance. Yeah, you have to lock in the white balance whenever you reset it. Asha infiltrated your rig. Computers barely work even when they do work. It's all space magic. Yeah, like, I wonder if that's where all those weird... Like, I wonder if that's where all those micro stutters were coming from. Like, I wonder if they were literally... I wonder if it had something to do with the cable that I was using. I had been using it for a really long time. That doesn't strike me as something that would cause that, but I don't know. Because, like, yeah, see, right there I saw some, and then I watch it on Twitch and it's not there. So it's so hard to deduce because there's a general micro stutter in Windows. Like, it just happens. It just happens. Like, I'll pull up a video and watch it on YouTube or a Windows media player. It'll stutter. I'll rewind it, and then the stutter won't be there. And I'm like, okay, so I didn't record a stutter. It's just Windows being Windows. So it's really, really hard to deduce, like, is OBS acting up or what? All right, what's Detective Seeds got so far to counter here? He says, oh, my capture card is messed up now. What did I do? It did not like me. I think it's the USB device. No, there we go. Okay. I think the whole hub had a problem and needed to be restarted. Creature, that thumbnail, are you wanting me to make the video, or are you going to pull something out from today's stream? Anyway, okay, so let's just read what Detective Seeds has here. First counter to the Verge's article. Sarah Bond started her position as president of Xbox in October 26, 2023. Phil Spencer was talking publicly about the vision of Xbox Everywhere July 2020, and then Xbox Everywhere Focus August 2021. Sarah Bond was a corporate VP 2020 to 2023. The birth of This Is an Xbox was initiated at least 3 years prior to Sarah Bond assuming her role. Probably should have researched more before an article was written. Is this part right here true? Oh, he's saying the birth of This Is an Xbox was initiated 3 years prior. What he's saying is this right here, Xbox Everywhere? I would love to see this source, Seeds. Can you get an article, a video, or something to prove this? He was talking publicly about the vision of Xbox Everywhere in July of 2020, and then Xbox Everywhere Focus 2021. Like, we would need something concrete to show that. I think he's correct, by the way. I'm not saying that I think Seeds is incorrect, but if you're going to put that out there, it's going to have a whole lot more weight if you can point to the moment that Phil started saying that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Initial vision, July 2020. Phil Spencer, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, articulated the early vision, stating that it's a future where you and your friends play the most immersive, responsive, and vivid games. This is like a pilot causing a plane to start crashing and then blaming it on the co-pilot who took over after the pilot passed the point of no return. That's where I'm coming from at it. It's like, what are we even talking about here? They set this trajectory in motion so long ago. Hang on one second. All right, saving. Okay. What did you have in mind, Creature? Are you trying to premiere this to end the day? Seed says, if you end up doing a video, just let me know. Happy to link to it as well. Oh, I think I'm definitely going to have to put together a video. Cuz yeah, I'm very irritated. That I don't know. Okay, Creature. I can attempt to do that this afternoon. Eugene says, you missed the mediocre white guy failing upwards in corporate America while they blame the intelligent black lady, calling her difficult to work with. Debating if we run both of these today. If we want the Bond piece to be good, Creature, I don't think we're going to have time to run it today, because I'm going to want to go and do research, find articles, and paint a clear picture of trajectory that she did not set in motion. I can't do that quickly. I'm not going to be able to. So I say we could just run this piece as a premiere. I could send him to it after this. And then when I'm done with the thing I'm doing, I could try and work on it. Premiere it. Yeah, I'm fine with that. We can do that, and then I can just redirect people from here since we're not going to be able to do Green Room today. You just added sourcing? Okay. Seeds. I'm not seeing it. Because Matt Bowie just runs around saying yes or no, sir, and never argues or pushes against what Microsoft wants. It kind of feels that way. Do you want me to schedule this premiere, Creature? Is it ready to go? I can schedule it. Oh, and we need a link to his original stuff. Is that in here? Oh, it is. Okay. Should be in reply under the tweet. I didn't see it. Oh, there it is. Sources, players first, you are the future of gaming. Xbox Wire, July 2020. Oh, it doesn't link to it, though. She's ready. I dropped a couple of possible sources. Where'd you put them? Did you put them in the Discord? Okay, gaming news today. No. Okay. I don't know. Set it as a premiere today. It's gonna be tight. I wonder if I can set it for 50. Okay. Got it. I respect Phil for being willing to fight a fight he knew he'd eventually lose despite his many mistakes. We know Phil fought them for years. Like, I completely agree with a couple of theories. I think he has been kind of fighting with Satya for a while. You know, I think that he's been fighting for the soul of Xbox for a while. You know, there's just been this sense of like he's wanted things to go in a way that just they've not been able to do, whether he's been fighting against things like the contract policy or not. What is going on? I went to open up an image from Discord and it says I can't open it. It says it can't be found. What the huh? All right, I'll just save it instead of open. I usually open and save it, but I guess I don't have to. That's very bizarre. One's Games Radar 2021, the other's Xbox Wire. Okay, I'll have to consult it later. My head's spinning a teeny bit right now because I'm trying to get things ready for something that I'm doing here in a little bit. But today's stream I thought was really, really fun and enjoyable. Like, I did not anticipate, going on a full rant mode about what feels like really, really gross revisionist history about Xbox and Sarah Bond. Like, I didn't expect to be doing that, but we did it. So I'll try to go back and add some timestamps for that in particular, because that's a pretty boisterous part of the broadcast. I did put out a poll about this. That with the Xbox leadership change, how are you feeling about Xbox? Dead or new era? Everybody's saying dead. And people are like, well, it's just a PlayStation channel. I still think even the Xbox fans are not thrilled about this change. And I think there's a lot of concern and consternation and worry. And listen, you can hang all this on you can hang it all on Sarah Bond if you want. I don't think that's going to change the reality. I just don't think it's going to change reality. The reality is that they made a bunch of decisions and set a bunch of things in motion that, to me, put them on this trajectory. And I don't think you can lay things at her feet the way that they have done. We read it on stream and Lono almost had a stroke. Well, like, the thing is, and you guys know this about me. I get very, very frustrated when things are not presented in a factual and honest way. And I just felt like that was a pretty egregious piece. I was like, this is just not accurate, like, at all. Search Xbox on Windows 10 presentation on YouTube. I don't know. They were on to failure with or without Sarah. Yeah, the stuff that they did this gen, like, I don't know. The stuff they did this gen, her involvement, I don't know. It was going to go this way either way. They set things in motion early on with what they did with Series S. It was hard to get Series X's. They were prioritizing cloud. They get rid of exclusives. They spend tons of money in acquisition. They look at like 343 and Halo, lack of launch titles, like all of that stuff, like this gen, and you're gonna pin it on her? Like, all right. I'll do my best, making a piece about it to try to really argue and show that, I feel that they put all these things in motion for the brand a long time ago, and they'd continue to make mistakes that seem to be primarily motivated on, we got to get more people, instead of just digging down and setting up the studios to flourish and delivering great games. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of the things that took place had nothing. It just had nothing to do with her. I don't know. Taken from members chat. Xbox's new CEO, Asha Sharma, suggests that AI could be the solution to declining birth rates. The new CEO is a natalist birth rater. How did Microsoft miss this? Literal stone's throw away from the likes of this. I don't even understand the rise of the agentic society. How does she think AI is a fix to birth rates? I'm like genuinely curious about that. I don't know. Oh, my camera died again? Yeah, I'm clearly having some kind of a problem, y'all. Oh, we're back. Oh, I remember. This happens when it's plugged into the USB port that it's on. Sorry. Hey, listen, it's been a great day. I'm going to move it back to the USB hub. The USB hub probably just needed to be rebooted. I think that's probably what happened. Anyways, I've got a video for you guys, and it's actually pretty long. This is about how I don't think this generation has sucked. There's been a lot of people who have argued that this gen has sucked. And it's a premiere, and it's starting right now, all right? It's like 38 minutes long. So I basically have like another mini stream for you guys, all right? So click the link in chat or ride the redirect, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for a spicy day. Hopefully this like extra 40 minutes will make up for the fact that there is no green room. So it's like a 40-minute video. It's about how the PlayStation 5 generation has not sucked. Thank you guys so much. Click the link in chat, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, all right? I'll redirect you as well.